Chapter 219. Zhao Qinkuan was embarrassed, but there was nothing he could do. He was really helpless in the face of such a killing formation. Of course. How can I not carry such a good thing with me? Qin Haodong laughed, and a square and red brick reappeared in his palm. It was said that the brick had jumped to the first place on the list of hidden weapons, because it was widely used and could be found everywhere. Its power was unparalleled. With the brick in hand, no matter what kind of martial arts you had, I could break them all with one brick. At this time, he stood there with the brick in his hand, and the momentum of having the world in his hand spread out, which was extremely coquettish. At this moment, Zhao Qinkuan shouted, "Oh, no, the killing formation is activated." Everyone looked up and saw that the whole peach forest was changing, and the killing intent was pervasive. Countless peach blossoms fell, like arrows all over the sky, and rushed to everyone in all directions. This was bad. A great sense of fear rose from the bottom of everyone's heart. Just a peach blossoms had such power, and now so many of them were shooting at them at the same time. There was no hope of survival. Just when everyone felt extremely helpless, they saw Qin Haodong waving his hand, and the brick in his hand hit against the rain of flowers all over the sky. Everyone looked at the red and square brick, which carried everyone's hope. Whether they could survive from the killing formation all depended on Qin Haodong's hit. With a bang, the killing intent in the sky dissipated quickly. The powerful falling petals and leaves formation, which could kill people at any time, melted like ice and snow. Although the peach forest was still the peach forest, and the peach blossoms were still the same, the original killing intent was gone. The formation was broken. Did he succeed again? Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. They seemed to have touched the crisis of death just now. Papa is great. The little fellow cheered and jumped. Zhao Qinkuan felt like he was struck by lightning. Although he also hoped that Qin Haodong could break the formation, he would suffer a huge blow if the formation was really broken. He had learned the formation since he was 3 years old, and it had been more than 20 years since then, but he couldn't even compare with a brick. How could he live? After the formation was broken, everyone moved forward again. After exiting the peach forest, the path had already come to an end. In front of them was a towering mountain that pierced through the clouds. There was no end in sight. At the foot of the mountain was a huge cave. It was dark inside and nothing could be seen clearly. Since they had come this far with great difficulty, they naturally wouldn't back down. They continued to advance deeper into the cave. Surprisingly, when everyone came to the entrance of the cave, it suddenly lit up. Looking up, he saw bright spots appearing on the walls of the cave. They looked like incandescent lamps, brightly illuminating the cave. These lights looked like lamps, but they were not lamps. They were probably made with special methods. When someone entered, they immediately lit up. Although Zhao Qinkuan suffered many setbacks in breaking the formation, he could see that these bright spots were a kind of Qi formation, which gathered the spiritual Qi between heaven and earth to illuminate the cave. He could not help but sigh, heavens, to be able to use formations to such an extent, it is truly admirable. Everyone agreed. After passing through several formations, they had already felt the greatness of the previous owner of this place. The space in the cave was large and long enough. After walking for about an hour, they suddenly saw an open space in front of them, and a huge underground palace appeared in front of them. The palace gate of the imperial palace was magnificent, just like the gate of an ancient city. There was a plaque hanging right above the gate, with 3 big words written on it, Zhaixing Palace. Heavens, we are finally here. After seeing the Zhaixing Palace, everyone's face was filled with joy. Be careful, everyone. Usually, there will be hidden weapons in an underground palace like this. We have all come this far. Don't get hurt accidentally. Lei Tianrui suppressed the excitement in his heart and turned to Xie Ziden. Ziden, you are best at hidden weapons. Go and have a look. Xie Ziden agreed and carefully came to the gate of the Zhaixing Palace. After careful examination, he did not find any traces of hidden weapons. He gently pushed with his hands, and the two seemingly heavy gates were pushed open easily. They stepped into the Zhaixing Palace. After making sure there was no danger, Xie Zidong turned around and waved his hand. Lei Tianrui and the others followed him into the gate. The inside of the Zhaixing Palace was very spacious, about 400 or 500 square meters. There was a huge patio in the middle, and there were 4 gates on both sides. No one knew what was inside. When they were about to look around, suddenly a light flashed in the hall, and a huge figure appeared in the patio. It was a cultivator in his 30s or 40s, with shoulder-length hair, wearing a cyan robe. He looked like an immortal, completely like a master. Although everyone could see that it was just an image left by someone before, not a real person, they still felt a great pressure, which showed how powerful this person was when he was alive. After the shock, Lei Tianrui hurriedly knelt down and shouted, "Junior Lei Tianrui greets you, Senior." The others also knelt down and saluted the middle-aged cultivator, but Qin Haodong stood there without moving. Hu Shaoxian hesitated for a moment, and then stood beside Qin Haodong. "Dispense with the formalities." The middle-aged cultivator said, "I'm Situ Zhaixing, the owner of this cave. When you see the image left by me, I've already passed the tribulation and ascended to heaven." Everyone was secretly shocked. No wonder the image brought them so much pressure. It turned out that it was left by a cultivator in the tribulation realm. Situ Zhaixing said, "I've already ascended to heaven, and I don't have any disciples. My treasures are useless to me, so I'll leave them to the destined ones. Since you can see my image, it means you're qualified to get my treasures." Lei Tianrui and the others were ecstatic when they heard that they could get the treasures left by a cultivator in the tribulation realm. Cultivators in the tribulation realm were legendary figures, and they had been extinct for many years. This was definitely a chance that could only be found by chance. "Thank you, Senior." Lei Tianrui and the others kowtowed to Situ Zhaixing again. Situ Zhaixing nodded and said, "My treasures are divided into 4 parts. The first part is the treasures I've accumulated over the years. Whoever gets them will be as rich as a country. I hope they can do more good things for the world in the future." After that, he raised his hand to a door on his left. The door suddenly opened, and countless treasures made people unable to open their eyes. The storeroom was about 100 square meters, with all kinds of gold, silver, jewelry, emeralds, diamonds, corals, agates, and everything else in it. Any one of these things was priceless. Lei Tianrui suppressed the urge to rush into the storeroom and continued to listen to Situ Zhaixing. It was not that he was not greedy, but as a warrior, although he also desired wealth, he was more eager for things related to cultivation. Those were the real treasures. Good. It's commendable that young people are not tempted by the treasures. Situ Zhaixing nodded, as if he was very satisfied with their performance. Then he continued, "Money is just a worldly possession. It's dispensable for us cultivators. The second treasure I left behind are the pills that this old man has refined over the years, as well as a variety of rare medicinal herbs. These pills are all high-grade, some can increase a martial artist's cultivation, and some can heal the dead. They are all priceless treasures." After that, the second door on the left opened. There were all kinds of bottles and jars in it, and some herbs were piled up like a hill. Lei Tianrui continued to kneel there, waiting for Situ Zhaixing to introduce the other 2 treasures. Anyway, there were only a few of them in the cave, so it didn't matter if they took them sooner or later. This old man has spent his entire life studying arrays, and his attainments in this field are extremely profound. Therefore, the third treasure I left behind is this old man's knowledge on arrays. As long as you study these books thoroughly, you can definitely become a great array master for a time. After that, Situ Zhaixing pointed at the door on the left again. After the door opened, there were all kinds of bamboo slips and books, as well as some auxiliary items such as formation discs and flags. Seeing these things, Zhao Qianquan's heart beat wildly. He had just seen how powerful Situ Zhaixing's formation was. If he could get the inheritance of these formations, he would definitely become the most powerful person in the Zhao family, and the throne of the family master would be a sure thing. Situ Zhaixing added, "The last treasure vault contains all kinds of martial arts manuals I've collected over the years. No matter what kind of physique you have, you can find the one that suits you. As long as you practice to the extreme, you can ascend to the heaven realm like me. But you must be careful that any of these manuals can set off a bloody storm in Jianghu. Don't spread them out." Lei Tianrui's eyes lit up. This was what he longed for most. Improving his cultivation and ascending to the heaven realm was the ultimate dream of every warrior. "Well, I'm leaving. These things are all for you. Make good use of them. Don't waste my painstaking efforts." After that, Situ Zhaixing's figure slowly dissipated in the air and finally turned into nothingness, leaving only the things in the 4 treasure vaults next to him. Lei Tianrui stood up. He did not rush to the treasure vault, but turned to look at Qin Haodong. "Boy, we had an agreement before that I would be in charge of everything after entering the treasure vault. These martial arts manuals and elixirs belong to us, but you can take some of the gold, silver, and jewelry." Zhao Qinkuan came over and said, "Boy toy, you should be content. This is our boss's kindness. After all, the treasure was found by us. It's okay not to give it to you." Hu Shaoxian said discontentedly, "What do you mean? These things are assigned by our superiors. Are you going to take them for yourself?" Lei Tianrui said, "It's not for me to take them for myself, but we've worked hard to find them. We should let our brothers pick some first. Of course, you can also choose some that you need." Qin Haodong sneered and said, "We agreed to distribute the things inside according to personal ability and contribution. I don't think you know who made the most contribution along the way. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have been able to break the 3 formations at all. You might even have died outside. So I should choose first, and the rest are yours." Lei Tianrui laughed and said, "Boy, don't think that you're great because you know some formations. Pick some things and get out, or you won't even know how you die." Qin Haodong said coldly, "Really? Then I'd like to see how you're going to kill me." Lei Tianrui's expression changed. "Since you want to die, I'll send you on your way." After that, he jumped up in the air and slapped hard on Qin Haodong's chest with one palm in front and the other behind. His cultivation had reached the first level of covert power. When he exerted his full strength, there was a faint sound of wind and thunder. Chapter 220. Good Skills. Boss's lightning wind palm has improved again. Zhao Qinkuan shouted excitedly. He had wanted to fight Qin Haodong for a long time. Now that Lei Tianrui did it, his wish was fulfilled. In his opinion, although Qin Haodong had some kung fu, he was no match for Lei Tianrui, who was at the level of covert power. He was afraid that Qin Haodong would lose his life under this palm. At this moment, a figure flashed. Hu Shaoxian directly stood in front of Qin Haodong and raised her hands to block Lei Tianrui's palms. 4 palms collided with each other. 2 muffled bangs were heard. Hu Shaoxian's body just shook a little, while Lei Tianrui was shaken and flew backward. Lei Tianrui landed on his feet and took 3 or 4 steps back. He said in horror, "Shaoxian, you've reached the 2nd level of covert power." Although they were both at the 1st level of covert power, his cultivation was more or less deeper than Hu Shaoxian's, which was also the reason why he was the leader of this trip to Shenangjia. But now he found that Hu Shaoxian had reached the 2nd level of covert power before him. How could he not be surprised? After all, after reaching the level of covert power, it took a lot of effort to make every step forward. Because of this, although the 2nd level of covert power was only 1 level higher than the 1st level of covert power, some people couldn't reach it in their lifetime. Hu Shaoxian said coldly, "If you dare to hurt Haodong again, don't blame me for being rude." This, Lei Tianrui's expression froze. He had thought that he had everything under control once he entered the Jiaxing Palace. He didn't need Qin Haodong to go out with Situ Jiaxing's tactical matrix inheritance. But he didn't expect that Hu Xiaoxian's cultivation had improved so much, which made things a bit difficult. After hesitating for a moment, he cried, "Hu Xiaoxian, don't forget that we are on the same side. Although your cultivation is higher, can you beat so many of us?" Dong Sihai, Zhao Qiankuan, and Wang Yuanqing pulled out their weapons and stood behind him. Zhao Ziden hesitated for a moment, but she did not move. "Lei Tianrui, I didn't know you were so shameless." Hu Xiaoxian drew out the purple flash sword and shouted, "So what if there are many of you? Try it if you have the guts." She thought that these people should be grateful to Qin Haodong for saving them several times in the formation. She didn't expect that they wanted to kill the donkey after it was no longer useful, which made her extremely angry. At this time, Hu Xiaoxian's cultivation of the second level of covert power had been fully displayed. Her body was bursting with amazing momentum, which made Lei Tianrui, Zhao Qiankuan and the others step back. "Forget it, Xiaoxian. Let's go." Qin Haodong shook his head. He was also extremely disappointed with the characters of Lei Tianrui and the others. He stepped forward and grabbed Hu Xiaoxian's wrist, leading the little fellow to the wall nearby. "What are they doing?" Lei Tianrui and the others were even more surprised than when they saw that Hu Xiaoxian had reached the second level of overt power. There was a stone wall in front of him, but Qin Haodong just walked over it. Was he crazy? But in front of everyone's shocked eyes, Qin Haodong took Hu Xiaoxian and the little fellow directly through the wall and disappeared in front of everyone. "What? What's going on? Does he know how to walk through walls?" Lei Tianrui was so surprised that he couldn't shut his mouth. Zhao Qiankuan cried, "Forget it, boss. Don't worry about him. Let's hurry up and collect the treasures." "That's right. The world will belong to us brothers in the future." Lei Tianrui said, "Zhao Qiankuan, you are responsible for studying the formation. Wang Yuanqing is responsible for collecting the elixirs. Dong Sihai is responsible for counting the treasures. I am going to collect the cultivation methods." He divided the work among them, except for Zhao Ziden, because he was extremely dissatisfied with Zhao Ziden's choice just now. Hu Xiaoxian was also puzzled by Qin Haodong's behavior at the beginning. But when she went through the wall, she didn't feel anything. The scenery also changed, and a simple cave appeared in front of her. She asked in surprise, "Haodong, what's going on? How did we get out?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "See for yourself." Hu Xiaoxian looked back with doubts, only to find that the magnificent Jiaxing Palace had disappeared, and there was only an empty cave in front of her. What treasure house? What formation? What elixirs? What secret books? They all turned into nothingness. Lei Tianrui, Zhao Qiankuan, and others were running around aimlessly. Only Xia Ziden was standing there with a lost face. This, what the hell is going on?" Hu Xiaoxian was even more confused when she saw it. She didn't know what had happened. Qin Haodong said, "In fact, there is no so-called Jiaxing Palace here. There was no wall in front of us just now, so we walked out directly. But I saw it clearly." Hu Xiaoxian said incredulously. Qin Haodong said, "Sometimes what people see is not necessarily true. It was just a magic formation." He also secretly admired the master of this cave. Whether it was the use of the formation or the analysis of people's psychology, he had reached the peak level. This magic formation was the highest level of the formation they had experienced, which had reached the level of the earth rank. The most important thing was the order of the magic formation. If the magic formation had been set up at the beginning, Zhao Qiankuan might have studied it carefully. Although he still couldn't crack it, he might have found it was a magic formation. But the magic formation was put in the fourth place, and the order was mysterious. Generally, people would become relaxed after passing 3 formations in a row. They subconsciously thought that they were about to reach the final goal. At this time, it was easy to fall into the magic formation and be unable to extricate themselves. The ultimate purpose of the magic formation was to confuse people's minds. If one's cultivation was not high enough and his mind was not firm enough, it was easy to fall into confusion. The reason why Qin Haodong could see through the magic formation so easily was that he had an extremely powerful spirit, even more powerful than the one who set up the formation. The reason why he didn't directly point it out was that he wanted to see the character of Lei Tianrui and others. If they were good characters, he could directly break the formation with them. However, he was greatly disappointed with their performance, so he directly left the magic formation with Hu Shaoxian and left them there. Hu Shaoxian suddenly realized that everything just now was fake. It was ridiculous that Lei Tianrui and others directly exposed their true nature for something that didn't exist at all. When she came to herself, she still asked with some worry, will they be okay? Anyway, these people were also her companions. If they all died here, it would be difficult to explain when they went back. Qin Haodong said, don't worry. The magic formation is not a killing formation. They won't die for a while. Then he began to step forward and looked at the cave house in front of him. They entered the first stone house in front of them and saw all kinds of bottles and jars in it. The air was filled with the medicinal fragrance of elixirs. The middle of the stone house was very empty, and there were some marks on the ground. It seemed that this should be the place where the nine-dragon tripod was placed. At this time, Qin Haodong somewhat understood how the Dilong entered the cave house. He had to admit that there was too much luck here. The Dilong fell from the top of the mountain and rolled into the cave house. He was in a coma at that time, so he was naturally not affected by the magic formation and directly slid into the elixir room. Moreover, the 4 formations they had experienced before were all one-way defense formations. That was to say, people coming in from the outside would touch the formation, but people going out would not feel anything and did not know the existence of the formation at all. Therefore, after the Dilong got the 9-dragon tripod, he easily left the cave house, but could never come back. After understanding all this, he had to say that it was really a coincidence. If the Dilong had not stolen the 9-dragon tripod by accident, he would not have come to this cave house. He observed the elixir room again. The elixirs inside were indeed extremely rare elixirs for ordinary people, but they were still a little worse than his level of alchemy in the past. Moreover, these elixirs had been there for many years, and many of them had lost their efficacy. Is it also a magic formation here? Hu Shaoxian asked. Once bitten, twice shy. After all, the feeling brought to her by the magic formation just now was too real. Not here. Qin Haodong said, this should be the real cave house of the cultivator, but I don't quite understand. Ordinary cultivators can set up 1 or 2 formations in front of the cave house. Why did he set up so many at once, and all of them are defense formations? Does he have enemies? But there is also a loophole in this statement. According to the cultivation of the owner of the cave house, his enemies should at least be at the same level as him. Although the formations in front of us are exquisite, they can't stop masters above the supreme power realm. However, Hu Shaoxian could not give him the answer to this question, so she could only find it by herself. They left the elixir room together and stepped into the second stone house. There were some books and bamboo slips here, including the master's experience in alchemy, formation and so on. Qin Haodong picked up 2 books at random and inferred from the contents of these books that the master's cultivation should not have reached the crossing calamity stage, but only the yuaning stage. The third stone house was the treasure room, where there was a formation to hide the spiritual qi. As soon as they entered the door, they felt the spiritual qi blowing on their faces. Qin Haodong's expression changed. He saw that the stone room was full of spirit stones. Although they were only middle-grade and low-grade spirit stones, the spiritual qi they emitted was much stronger than that of the outside, which was good for the cultivation of warriors. The value of these spirit stones could not be measured by money. Even if he could not find anything else this time, it was a worthwhile trip to get these spirit stones. With spirit stones and the elixir room, he was more sure that this was the cave house of the cultivator. However, there were only spirit stones here, no other gold and silver treasures. No wonder Dilong said that there was nothing good here. Ordinary people could not see the value of spirit stones at all. What are these stones for? Hu Shaoxian obviously did not know about spirit stones. In this era of lack of spiritual qi, people began to turn to martial arts, so they had very little concept of spiritual qi and spirit stones. Qin Haodong said, "These are called spirit stones. They can release spiritual qi, which is good for the cultivation of warriors. You can take some, and I'll take the rest." "Papa, I want some too." As a Suzaku's sacred body, the little fellow had a natural sense of intimacy with spiritual qi. Qin Haodong took out 2 middle-grade spirit stones for the little fellow to play with, and took out some for Hu Shaoxian. Then, with a thought, all the spirit stones in the room were put into the storage ring. Seeing a lot of spirit stones disappear, Hu Shaoxian asked in surprise, "How did you do it?" "To tell you the truth, I am a cultivator, and I have my ways." After so much experience, Qin Haodong trusted Hu Shaoxian a lot more. After leaving the treasure room, they came to the 4th stone house. There were not many things here, except for a memorial tablet in the middle. It was written that Situ Zhaixing of the Yuan sect. Situ Zhaixing. Qin Haodong thought of the middle-aged cultivator who appeared in the illusion formation. It seemed that the man should be Situ Zhaixing, and this was his cave house. However, this man did not ascend, but died here. Chapter 221. Hu Shaoxian also thought of this and said, "The dead should be respected. Besides, we have so many spirit stones. We should kowtow to Senior Situ." Then she knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Situ Zhaixing's memorial tablet 3 times. Before she stood up, she heard the sound of a machine. Oh no! There was a mechanism. Qin Haodong held the little fellow in one hand and Hu Shaoxian's waist with the other. They rushed to the door of the stone room. When they looked back, there was no danger in the room. At this time, the incense table under the memorial tablet moved to the right, revealing a cave entrance. The cave entrance was still bright, and there was a staircase leading down. It turns out that there is another space here. Qin Haodong let go of Hu Shaoxian, and they walked down the stairs one after another. There was a stone room about 20 square meters below. There was a futon in the middle of the stone room, and a man was sitting cross-legged. It was Situ Zhaixing, but there was no vitality in him. Obviously, he had been sitting for a long time. Just when their attention was attracted by Situ Zhaixing's body, they heard a click and the entrance had been completely sealed. "What's going on?" Qin Haodong was shocked. He turned back and waved his hand at the entrance. After a muffled bang, the entrance did not move at all. Qin Haodong reached out and flicked it, making a tinkling sound. It turned out that the entrance had been sealed by an iron plate made of fine steel. "Oh no, we are trapped," Qin Haodong said. "Let me have a try," Hu Shaoxian said as she drew out the purple flash sword. A purple light slashed at the iron plate at the entrance. After a crisp sound, there was only a small white dot left on the iron plate, but there was no damage. At this time, they heard someone say, "There is no need to try. I built the exit with 10,000-year-old cold iron. You can't break it at all." Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian turned their heads and saw a shadow appear in the basement again. It was Situ Zhaixing. But his body had been sitting next to him. This should be the divine thought left by him before he died. "Senior Situ, what do you mean by trapping us here?" Qin Haodong asked. "You are the fated ones since you can find the secret room I left. Since you are here, don't worry. Sit down and listen. I will tell you a story." Situ Zhaixing pointed to the 2 futons in the corner and asked them to sit down. Qin Haodong thought for a moment. Anyway, it was useless to be anxious now. The stone room was so solid that it was impossible to force their way out. He could only wait for Situ Zhaixing to finish. He took Hu Shaoxian to sit down on the futon. Although Situ Zhaixing was just a wisp of divine thought, he also made a posture of sitting down. The little fellow felt it was very interesting and looked at the illusory Situ Zhaixing with great interest. "Senior Situ, just tell me what you want," Qin Haodong said. "It's a long story. I have to start with my father, Situ Qing." Situ Zhaixing began to talk slowly. "My father is the 42nd sect leader of Yi Yuan school. He once fell into the trap of the evil cultivator, Ghost King Ling Shan. He was seriously injured and fled to Liaodong. Although he escaped the pursuit of Ghost King Mang Shan, my father was seriously injured and was on the verge of death. Fortunately, he was not fated to die. He met a small hunter in the forest. The small hunter saved my father's life with dear blood. When he recovered, in order to repay his kindness, my father told the small hunter that he could fulfill any wish he had. Unexpectedly, the small hunter was so ambitious that he wanted to be the emperor. As the head of Yi Yuan school, my father always kept his word. Although the small hunter's request was a little excessive, he finally agreed. In order to fulfill the small hunter's wish, my father took out 12 upper-level spirit stones and used the terrain of the mountains and rivers outside the Great Wall to set up a rising dragon formation to nourish the small hunter's dragon vein. Small hunter, dragon vein outside the Great Wall. Hearing this, Qin Haodong was shocked and asked, "Senior Situ, is the small hunter called Nurachi?" "Yes, that's his name." Situ Zhaixing continued, "With the help of my father, the small hunter's luck became stronger day by day. Finally, he unified Liaodong outside the Great Wall. Unfortunately, his lifespan was too short, and he died before the ascending dragon vein reached its peak. Before he died, the little hunter begged my master to be the protector of the female Zhenren, but my father was a cultivator and didn't want to get too involved in worldly affairs, so he didn't agree. However, he still promised the little hunter that he would continue to use the rising dragon formation to nourish his family's dragon veins, so that his descendants could become emperors." Qin Haodong was secretly shocked. It was said that the Manchurian Qing dynasty had a dragon vein beyond the Great Wall, and now it seemed to be true. Situ Zhaixing said, "The little hunter's son is a boy named Huang Taiji. This guy is very smart. He knows that my father's rising dragon formation is the foundation of his family, so he tries to please him." After the invitation to be the imperial preceptor was rejected, the imperial preceptor directly used his name to name the country, and named it Qing. Oh my God, so that's how the Qing dynasty got its name. In Qin Haodong's history class, the teacher had told him that Huang Taiji had changed the name of the Qing dynasty to eliminate the Han people's rejection. He wanted to show the world that the Qing dynasty was not the continuation of the Jin dynasty, but the Qing dynasty wanted to be the ruler of the world. However, this statement was questioned by the students at that time. Some people asked why they named it Qing. There were so many Chinese characters. Why did they choose to name it Qing? This question puzzled the teacher at that time, and now he finally had the answer. It turned out that it came from the name of Situ Qing, the head of the Yuan sect. Situ Zhaixing continued, "Later, the dragon qi gathered by the rising dragon formation became stronger and stronger. Finally, Huang Taiji became the emperor as he wished. After he became the emperor, he didn't reduce his respect for my father. Every year, he would donate a lot of money to the Yuan sect and provide all kinds of cultivation resources. But the life of mortals is not like us cultivators, who can live for hundreds of years. They only have a few decades to live." Soon, Huang Taiji passed away, and his children and grandchildren succeeded him one after another. The existence of our Yuan sect and the rising dragon formation became the secret of every emperor of the Qing dynasty. Only when the old emperor passed away would he tell his successor this secret. When Kangxi succeeded to the throne, the the secret of the rising dragon formation was somehow leaked out. Some supporters of the previous dynasty knew that the Manchurian Qing dynasty had a dragon vein beyond the Great Wall. Many people went to Liaodong to search for it, trying to cut off this dragon vein. Kangxi was very scared when he found out. He went to the Yuan sect to find my father and asked him to move the rising dragon formation to the capital. For the sake of this little guy's filial piety for many years, my father agreed and asked him to build a summer palace in the capital. Then, he sealed 12 upper-level spirit stones in the heads of the 12 zodiac animals. In this way, the rising dragon formation was quietly moved to the capital. With the nourishment of the rising dragon formation, the Qing dynasty was like the sun in the sky. Not only was the national power strong, but the emperor also lived a long life. Hearing this, Qin Haodong knew that something must have happened later. Otherwise, the Qing dynasty would not have gone downhill. As expected, Situ Zhaixing continued, but there was a problem with Kangxi. Originally, he chose the 14th son as his successor. Unexpectedly, his 4th son usurped the throne after his death. After Yongjing ascended the throne, he directly imprisoned the 14th prince. But the problem was that the secret of our Yuan sect and the rising dragon formation was passed on by Kangxi to the 14th prince. Yongjing didn't know anything about it. The 14th prince wanted to tell this secret to Yongjing, but he couldn't see Yongjing at all. The matter of the dragon vein was of great importance, so he couldn't ask others to tell him. After Yongjing ascended the throne, he found that the Qing dynasty provided a lot of materials to the members of parliament every year. This made him extremely dissatisfied. At the same time, he felt that there were many masters in our Yuan sect, which was too big a threat to the Qing dynasty. So he gathered many cultivators, and at the same time, he put a poison in the wine of Yi Yuan school called power dissipation powder. After all the preparations were done, this beast led the experts of Yi Yuan school to carry out a crazy massacre. Not only did he kill my father, but he also slaughtered nearly 100 disciples of our sect overnight. Not even a single immortal beast was left. Speaking of this, although Situ Zhaixing was only a wisp of spirit, Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian could feel his shocking anger and crazy killing intent. Qin Haodong asked, "Senior Situ, in this case, how did you survive?" Situ Zhaixing sighed and said, "I showed a talent for cultivation that was far beyond ordinary people since I was a child. I was worthy of being the first genius in the sect. When I was 100 years old, I left the Yuan sect in order to break through to the Yuanying realm. I opened this Zhaixing palace here and practiced alone in seclusion. Because of this, I survived. This seclusion lasted for 30 years. When I came out again, the Yuan sect had been destroyed for more than 10 years. When I heard the news, I was so angry that I directly killed Yongjing in the capital." Qin Haodong felt that he had received too much information today. He was shocked one after another. The death of Yongjing had always been a mystery in history. At the age of 57, Yongjing was not old and had always been very healthy. But suddenly there was news that he died of illness. There were many legends about Yongjing's death. The most popular one was that he was stabbed to death by Liu Xinyang. Now it seemed that he was stabbed to death, but the murderer was not Liu Xinyang, but Situ Zhaixing. Hu Shaoxian asked, "Senior Situ, what happened next?" Situ Zhaixing said, "The Yuan sect helped the Qing dynasty, but Yongjing slaughtered the holy Yuan sect. Killing him alone could not appease my anger, so I decided to destroy the dragon vein of the Qing dynasty and stop them from continuing. But at this time, a large number of masters under Yongjing arrived. Although I had reached the Yuanying realm, it was still difficult for me to fight against them alone. Even so, I took away the dragon head of the 12 zodiac animals at the risk of being seriously injured. Of course, it was also because Yongjing did not know the secret of the 12 zodiac animals, so he transferred all the masters in the summer palace away, which gave me the opportunity. The rising dragon formation was operated by 12 upper-level spirit stones. I took away a dragon head, so the rising dragon formation was naturally broken and the so-called dragon vein was also destroyed. Later, I was chased by a large number of masters, so I escaped to the inaccessible Shenangjia and returned to Jiaxing Palace. In order to prevent people from finding here, I set up 4 formations outside Jiaxing Palace and dug this basement. In order to make people believe that this is my last palace, I left the 9-dragon tripod and some spirit stones outside to confuse the enemy. I also made a delicate mechanism in this basement. Anyone who can kowtow to me is definitely not an enemy, and has the chance to get the inheritance I left here. Qin Haodong understood the whole story. It was because of Hu Xiaoxian's kowtow that the basement left by Situ Jiaxing was opened and his remains were seen. But now he did not know whether it was a blessing or a curse to be trapped here. Situ Jiaxing continued, "It's a pity that I was seriously injured, more seriously than I thought. Soon after, I died in the cave. My biggest regret in this life is that I did not see the fall of the Qin dynasty with my own eyes." Chapter 222. Qin Haodong said, "Senior Situ, don't feel sorry. It has been more than 300 years since you assassinated Yongzheng, and the Qin dynasty has been destroyed for more than 100 years." While speaking, he also sighed in his heart. After Yongzheng's death, Qianlong succeeded the throne. Before Emperor Qianlong, the Qin dynasty was in its heyday. Even if Kangxi ascended the throne at the age of 8, he could still create a prosperous era. But from the late Qianlong, the Qin dynasty began to go downhill. He had a total of 17 sons, some of whom were promising, but every time he chose an excellent son as the crown prince, the son would never live long. The reason why he finally chose the extremely mediocre Jiajing as the emperor was that there were no outstanding sons left, so he could only choose the best one. After Jiajing, there was no need to mention that each generation was worse than the last. Finally, there was an old woman who listened to the government from behind the curtain, and directly pushed the Qin dynasty to destruction. From this point of view, it really had something to do with the cutting off of the dragon vein. Unfortunately, Situ Jiaxing's actions had harmed countless people in Huaxia, and finally they were trampled by the West for nearly 100 years. It's been so long. After sighing, Situ Jiaxing showed a look of joy. "Finally, I have avenged my Yuan sect, so I can die with my eyes closed." Qin Haodong said, "Senior, we have heard your story. Is it time to let us out? If you want to get out of here, you can only rely on yourself." "I can't do anything." Situ Jiaxing said, "I was not sure whether cutting off the dragon vein would work, so I wanted to choose a successor to accept my inheritance. If the Qin dynasty was not destroyed, he would continue to avenge my Yuan sect. Even if the Qin dynasty was destroyed, he would pass on the unique skills of my Yuan sect. So I set up this secret room with no exit." Hu Xiaoxian said anxiously, "No exit? You mean we can't get out of here at all? How can we avenge you?" "Of course, we can't get out forever." Situ Jiaxing said, "Our Yuan sect's disciples all practice fire attribute cultivation methods. There is a magical power called Eyes of Phoenix that is unparalleled in the world. As long as we get the inheritance of a Yuan sect and practice the Eyes of Phoenix to the basic level, we can melt the black iron at the door, and naturally go out." Hu Xiaoxian sighed and said, "My God, how long will it take? Back then, I was only focused on revenge. How could I care so much?" Situ Jiaxing looked at Hu Xiaoxian and shook his head. "Little girl, you have a good aptitude. It's a pity that your physique is of the water attribute. You are not suitable to inherit the mantle of a Yuan sect." He looked at Qin Haodong again, and then shook his head again. "I've lived for more than 100 years, but I've never seen such a pure wood body. It's a pity that it's not suitable for practicing my cultivation method. It seems that you too are doomed to be trapped in this basement. I had 2 treasures to give you, but now it seems that it's unnecessary." Qin Haodong said, "Senior Situ, don't forget that there are 3 of us here." Hearing that, Situ Zhaixing remembered the little fellow in Qin Haodong's arms. After looking at it carefully, his divine thoughts fluctuated violently. My God, this little girl has the Suzaku sacred body. That was great. That's great. It seems that a Yuan sect is still alive. The eyes of Phoenix can finally be passed on. After the surprise, Situ Zhaixing said again, the Suzaku sacred body is the best physique for practicing the fire attribute cultivation method. It's a pity that this girl is too young. I don't have much time left. It seems that it's too late to teach her. Qin Haodong said, Senior Situ, you can teach me the cultivation method. Although I can't practice it, I can teach my daughter. Well. That's a good idea. Situ Zhaixing raised his hand and a golden light shot into Qin Haodong's mud pill palace. He directly passed the cultivation method of the eyes of Phoenix to Qin Haodong with his divine thoughts. But in this way, his body became more and more illusory, as if it would dissipate at any time. Qin Haodong felt that there was something more in his mind. It was the cultivation method of the eyes of Phoenix. Situ Zhaixing said, you can teach this little girl to practice the eyes of Phoenix later. I'm leaving soon. Tell you what you should say as soon as possible. He raised his hand and pointed to a wooden box in the corner. He said to Qin Haodong, open the box. Qin Haodong took the box and opened the lid. There was a bronze dragon-shaped beast head inside. In addition, there were 2 crystal-clear gems at the bottom of the box. These things were only a little bigger than peanuts. They looked like diamonds, but they were not diamonds at the same time. Situ Zhaixing pointed to the 2 small stones and said with infinite emotion, these are 2 space stones that I got by accident. Don't underestimate them. They are absolutely priceless treasures for cultivators. If it was worn on one's body, not only could it double the speed of one's cultivation, but it could also prevent one from going berserk. These space stones were originally a pair. I originally wanted to propose to my younger sister after I reached the Yuanying realm. I didn't expect that when I finished my closed-door training, we were already separated from each other. Since the 2 of you are a couple, I'll give these 2 nether space stones to you. Looking at Situ Zhaixing who was sighing, Qin Haodong felt a burst of contempt. Since he liked his younger sister for a long time, why didn't he propose to her when he was more than 100 years old? Why did he have to sigh here in the end? But then he thought that the life of cultivators was far longer than that of ordinary people. After reaching the Yuanying realm, they could live for more than 500 years. In this way, more than 100 years was not too old. Hu Shaoxian held the 2 space stones in her hand and peeked at Qin Haodong with a shy face. But then she was a little worried. This little thing was neither a ring nor a pendant. It was not a good way to hold it by hand. It seemed that Situ Zhaixing knew what she was thinking. He said, the space stone is very magical. You can put it on the Chanzhong acupoint on your chest. Hu Shaoxian took out one and put it in the groove of her collar according to Situ Zhaixing's instructions. Finally, she put it on the Chanzhong acupoint on her chest. She suddenly felt cold, and then the space stone disappeared. She turned around, pulled open her collar and peeked at it. She saw a small colorful dot on her chest, as if it was a congenital birthmark. It's really magical. Thank you, Senior. After thanking Situ Zhaixing, Hu Shaoxian handed the remaining space stone to Qin Haodong and then looked at him with watery eyes. Well. Qin Haodong said with some embarrassment, Senior, can I give this to my daughter? Situ Zhaixing said, your love for your son is rare. It's a pity that the property of the space stone is cold. This girl has the Suzaku sacred body. If you give it to her, it will melt in a few days. It will not only be useless, but also a waste of a treasure. Oh. Qin Haodong agreed, and then directly pressed the space stone on the Chanzhong acupoint on his chest. Like Hu Shaoxian, the space stone immediately turned into a colorful mark. Hu Xiaoxian's cheeks turned red. At this time, she felt more and more that she and Qin Haodong were a match made in heaven. You should cherish it. I found the space stone in an ancient relic. It should have many other uses, but I haven't excavated it yet. After saying that, Situ Zhaixing pointed to the dragon-shaped beast head in the box and said, "This is what I got from the Yuanminjuan garden. This beast head is not very valuable. The most important thing is the upper-level spirit stone in it." Qin Haodong thought that this thing could be sold at least tens of millions of yuan at the auction. In the eyes of this old man, it became a worthless thing. He held the dragon-shaped beast head in his hand, checked it and said, "Senior Situ, you haven't been cheated, have you? This beast head has no spiritual qi. How can there be an upper-level spirit stone?" Situ Zhaixing said, "This thing is sealed by the unique secret method of our Yuan sect. Otherwise, if the spiritual qi leaked, it would have been discovered long ago." After saying that, he passed the secret method of unlocking the seal to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong unlocked the seal. With a click, the dragon-shaped beast head was divided into two halves. A shining upper-level spirit stone was exposed in the air. At the same time, the whole stone room was instantly filled with spiritual qi. The spiritual qi was hundreds of times richer than that of the middle-level spirit stone. It was so condensed that Qin Haodong felt a tingling on his skin. The genuine qi in his body suddenly ran at a high speed. The bottleneck of the qi refining stage, which had been silent for a long time, was a little loose. Qin Haodong suddenly saw the hope of breaking through the qi refining stage without taking the initiative to absorb it. However, it was not the time to practice. He suppressed his inner impulse and closed the dragon head again. "Little girl, our Yuan sect has been passed down for thousands of years. The Eyes of Phoenix is the only magic power. You must let the little girl practice well. Don't let me down. There is food and water in the storage ring, enough for you. I'm leaving. I wish you a long life together." After saying that, Situ Zhaixing's body became fainter and fainter, and finally disappeared in the air. Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian stared at the direction where he disappeared, and a faint sadness rose in their hearts. "Well, don't be sad. In fact, Senior Situ has been gone for more than 300 years. This is just a trace of his divine thought." Qin Haodong patted Hu Shaoxian on the shoulder, and then took her and the little girl to the front of Situ Zhaixing's body. Qin Haodong didn't know what special method the old man used. Although he had been dead for more than 300 years, his body was very well preserved. It looked lifelike, as if he was asleep. The three of them kowtowed to Situ Zhaixing together. Qin Haodong took a storage ring from the finger of the body and scanned it with his divine thought. There was a lot of food and water in it. It was enough for them to eat even if they were trapped here for 3 or 5 years. "Shaoxian, this is for you," Qin Haodong said and gave the storage ring to Hu Shaoxian. "I don't want it. You can have it." Although Hu Shaoxian was not familiar with the properties of the storage ring, she knew it was a good thing. She pushed it back to Qin Haodong. "Since I'm giving it to you, just take it. I already have one. Otherwise, where do you think I get those things from?" Qin Haodong said as he grabbed Hu Shaoxian's hand and put the storage ring on her finger. Then he taught her how to use the storage ring. "Little man, are you going to propose to me?" Hu Shaoxian looked at Qin Haodong with affection in her eyes. Qin Haodong realized that he had put the storage ring on Hu Shaoxian's ring finger. "Well, how about changing your finger?" When he was about to change the position of the ring, Hu Shaoxian clenched her fist and said coquettishly, "No. You just proposed to me." "I said yes. You are my man from now on. You are not allowed to go back on your word. Together. Together." The little fellow clapped her hands and shouted. Qin Haodong was speechless. Nowadays, children watched too much TV and shouted when they saw a proposal. They didn't even think about their mother. After that, Qin Haodong put Situ Zhaixing's body into the storage ring. After getting so many benefits from the old man, he had to find a beautiful place to bury him. When everything was done, he called the little fellow to his side and began to teach her to practice Eyes of Phoenix, the magical power of a Yuan sect. The most urgent thing was to let the little fellow practice to the realm of small accomplishment. Otherwise, no one could get out of here. Chapter 223. Qin Haodong comprehended the cultivation method of Eyes of Phoenix from beginning to end. Suddenly, he was shocked. The Yuan sect was really rich and had such a great magic power. What was a magic power? It needed to be explained from the origin of cultivators. In Jianghu, warriors didn't know magic, and sorcerers didn't know martial arts. Cultivators just combined the two into one, practicing martial arts and being proficient in magic. In terms of magic, even the best magic had to be activated in advance, so more or less preparation time was needed. But in a battle, everything changed in an instant. How could the opponent give you so much time to prepare? So many senior sorcerers died in assassinations. Therefore, cultivators preferred magic weapons to magic. After all, magic weapons could be activated with a thought and were much faster. Magic was equivalent to using guns, which always needed to be loaded, aimed, and opened the safety. Magic weapons were like wearing swords, which could be pulled out to fight the enemy. Compared with magic and magic weapons, magic power had its own advantages. Once an ability was cultivated, it would be equivalent to a cultivator's own ability. Just like the limbs of a congenital expert, it didn't need any preparation at all and could be activated at any time. Moreover, magic power had a strong growth potential. Once it was mastered, it would improve with the improvement of the cultivator's realm. Because of this characteristic, the number and type of magic power were extremely rare, especially the magic power to cultivate eyes. Qin Haodong hadn't seen it in the cultivation world for 500 years, and the Eyes of Phoenix in front of him was exactly this kind of magic power. Even among the many magic powers, Eyes of Phoenix was also a top-grade magic power. When practiced to the extreme, it could burn the void. Originally, after the awakening of the Suzaku sacred body, the little fellow lacked a cultivation method, so it was a great opportunity to get the Eyes of Phoenix. After figuring out the method of Eyes of Phoenix, Qin Haodong said to the little fellow, "Tang Tang, now Dad is going to teach you a magic power to use fire. You must learn it seriously, or we can only stay here and can't go home." "Papa, didn't you say that we can't use fire casually?" the little fellow said. "It doesn't mean that we can't use it casually. Now we have to get out of here with the help of fire." "Then why don't you and Auntie Xiaoxian practice it?" "Because we are not as smart as you. Only you learn the fastest. The children are waiting for you to go back to school." The little fellow said seriously, "Oh. Well, Papa will teach me. I will learn it seriously and then take you home with me." After that, Qin Haodong began to dismantle the method of Eyes of Phoenix bit by bit and taught it to the little fellow one by one. As the possessor of the Suzaku's sacred body, Tang Tang was naturally suitable for cultivation and soon mastered all the methods of the Eyes of Phoenix. After mastering the method, all that was left was to continuously cultivate and improve it. As long as he reached the minor realm, he would be able to open the door. Qin Haodong asked the little fellow to sit aside and cultivate. He turned to Hu Shaoxian and said, "It's rare to get an upper-level spirit stone. Let's cultivate and improve our cultivation." One of the most important reasons he came to Shenangjia this time was to break through the bottleneck of the qi refinement stage. Now was the perfect opportunity. He and Hu Shaoxian also sat cross-legged on the ground, forming a triangle with the three of them. Then he took out the dragon-shaped beast head and opened it. After that, he put the upper-level spirit stone between the three of them. Suddenly, the whole stone house was filled with abundant spiritual qi again. Qin Haodong closed his eyes and began to run the longevity of Emperor Yozhen. Compared with other cultivation methods, the cultivation method had many advantages, but at the same time, it required a lot of spiritual qi, so he had not been able to break through to the foundation realm. Now with sufficient spiritual qi, everything became simple. As the genuine qi of longevity was running, the surrounding spiritual qi seemed to be greatly attracted and quickly gathered in Qin Haodong's body, like rivers flowing into the sea. Fortunately, the upper-level spirit stone was in front of him, providing him with a steady stream of spiritual qi. After running the genuine qi of longevity for 3 circles, he heard a slight click in his mind. The genuine qi in his dantian seemed to be boiling and instantly became more than 10 times stronger. The momentum of his whole body suddenly rose. Qin Haodong secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, he had completed the foundation realm. It became much simpler when he reached the foundation realm. He could use other elixirs to improve his cultivation. Although the speed was a little slow, he could see the effect after all. He opened his eyes and found that the little fellow was very stable and was concentrating on cultivation. Compared with the previous cultivation, Hu Shaoxian had made great progress. She had reached the 3rd level of covert power and had not stopped. With the space stone, Hu Shaoxian's cultivation speed not only greatly improved, but also did not have to worry about qi deviation. She only needed to focus on improving her cultivation. The only regret was that the 3 of them needed a lot of spiritual qi to cultivate at the same time. The upper-level spirit stone had become smaller than before. It was a rare opportunity. Qin Haodong had to seize the opportunity to cultivate. After sighing, he closed his eyes again. With sufficient supply of spiritual qi, his cultivation speed was extremely fast. With the cultivation experience of his previous life, even without the space stone, he did not have to worry about the problem of qi deviation. The 1st level of covert power, the 2nd level of covert power. After a long time, his cultivation jumped to the 5th level of covert power. When he was ready to continue to improve, he felt that the spiritual qi around him disappeared as if it had been sucked out. After finishing the cultivation state, Qin Haodong found that the upper-level spirit stone in front of him had completely disappeared. He could not help but sigh secretly. Although the upper-level spirit stone was good, it would be used up. However, he was still satisfied. He could cultivate from the 9th level of overt power to the 5th level of covert power at once. This kind of cultivation speed was enough to make other warriors crazy. He was not the only one whose cultivation had been greatly improved. Hu Shaoxian had also been promoted from the 2nd level of covert power to the 5th level of covert power. At this time, she seemed to feel the lack of spiritual qi and ended the cultivation state. My God, my cultivation has improved so much all of a sudden. Hu Shaoxian was not as calm as Qin Haodong. She immediately became ecstatic when she felt her strength. After entering the covert power level, it was extremely difficult to improve a small realm. Many people needed a year or even several years to do so. But after she met Qin Haodong, she had been promoted from the 1st level of covert power to the 5th level of covert power in just a few days. It was absolutely shocking and appalling. She wanted to cheer as much as she could, but when she saw the little fellow who was still cultivating next to her, she forcibly suppressed her inner excitement. Hu Shaoxian put her arms around Qin Haodong's neck and kissed him hard on the face. Then she whispered, "Haodong, I've reached the 5th level of covert power. It's reasonable to improve so much after consuming an upper-level spirit stone." Qin Haodong reached out and patted her delicate cheek. He said jokingly, "But I've improved more than you. Now I'm also at the 5th level of covert power. It's impossible for you to push me down by force in the future." "Really? That's great." Hu Shaoxian was also happy for Qin Haodong's improvement. Then she said, "Since you can't push me down by force, let's seduce you." While speaking, she raised her hand and pulled down her collar, revealing her sexy collarbone and the bottomless ravine. Qin Haodong suddenly felt a burst of heat in his nostrils. He quickly changed the topic and said, let's see how long we've been cultivating. Only then did Hu Shaoxian let go of his neck. She took out her mobile phone and glanced at it. Then she exclaimed, oh my God, it's been 5 days. Then she thought of something and said, it's been so long. I wonder how Lei Tianrui and the others are doing. Lei Tianrui and the others were trapped in the illusion formation without any water or food. Don't worry, they won't die. Qin Haodong said, besides, we can't get out now. It's useless to worry. Then he stood up, moved his limbs, and put the 2 halves of the dragon head back together. Then he sealed it again. Although there was no upper-level spirit stone in it, it was after all an authentic animal head of the 12 zodiac animals. It was worth more than tens of millions. Hu Shaoxian said, by the way, Haodong, I heard that the dragon head is hidden in the museum of Bao Island. Now there's another one here. Which one is real and which one is fake? Qin Haodong said, from the perspective of antiques, both of them should be real, but there must be no upper-level spirit stone in that one. It should be remade after the dragon head was taken away by Senior Situ. At the same time, he thought of something. That was to say, in addition to the dragon head, other animal heads of the 12 zodiac animals also had upper-level spirit stones sealed in them. As long as he could find other animal heads, his cultivation could go further. But this was all in the future. Now the most important thing was to get out of the stone room as soon as possible. Haodong, you must be hungry. Let's eat. Although cultivation could reduce the speed of metabolism to the lowest, after all, 5 days had passed. Both of them were a little hungry. Hu Shaoxian used her divine thoughts and some dried meat and water appeared in front of them. She was now very good at using the storage ring and she liked it very much. It was like carrying a mobile warehouse with her, and it could be kept fresh for a long time. The only regret was that the food prepared by Xikong Zhaixing was too simple, and that was all there was. It's not delicious. Let's eat mine. Qin Haodong had prepared enough before coming. With his divine thoughts, all kinds of stir-fried dishes and beer appeared in front of him. The storage ring was equivalent to a 3-dimensional space without an axis of time. What was put in was still the same when it was taken out, so the dishes were still steaming. It smells so good. Papa, I'm hungry. When they were about to eat, the little fellow also ended her cultivation. Hearing the little fellow's cry, Qin Haodong turned his head and saw a pair of eyes. At this time, the little fellow was completely different from before. Her pupils had become 2 groups of golden flames. The flames were constantly jumping in her eyes, and they emitted a dazzling light, which made people dare not look directly at them. However, this was only for a moment. Very quickly, the little fellow blinked once, and the flames in its eye sockets quickly converged and disappeared, returning to a pair of big and adorable eyes. However, if one were to look closely, one would be able to see 2 balls of needle-sized flames that were constantly pulsating in the depths of its pupils. Tang Tang, you made it. Qin Haodong was surprised. Although he did not practice, he was already familiar with the cultivation method of Eyes of Phoenix. From the state of the little fellow, he could see that she had reached the realm of small accomplishment. According to the records of Xikong Zhaixing's cultivation method, even the most talented disciple of a Yuan sect needed more than 3 months to reach the realm of Eyes of Phoenix. He did not expect that Tang Tang could reach this realm in 5 days. It seemed that the cultivation talent of Suzaku's sacred body was indeed well deserved. Papa, I want to eat ribs. The little fellow looked at the plate of sweet and sour ribs in front of her and drooled. In contrast, she was much more interested in food than cultivation. Hu Shaoxian said, let's eat first. We'll talk about cultivation after dinner. The 3 of them sat around the table and had a good meal. After dinner, Qin Haodong pointed to the Millennium Cold Iron blocking the entrance and said to the little fellow, Tang Tang, try to see if you can open this thing. Chapter 224. Papa, can I use the fire now? The little fellow asked. Of course, you can use it whenever Papa asks you to. Great, I can finally play with fire. The little fellow cried happily, and then 2 flames gradually appeared in her eyes. The flames were golden, dancing and burning fiercely in her pupils. They became more and more vigorous, and finally turned into 2 thin golden lines of fire, shooting at the piece of millennium cold steel that sealed the entrance of the cave. The indestructible millennium cold steel was cut into a square of about 1 meter by the little fellow's eyes of phoenix like a knife cutting tofu, and then fell to the ground with a plop. Seeing that the flames released by the little fellow were still burning toward the top of the cave, Qin Haodong hurriedly shouted, "Tang Tang, that's enough. Stop it now." "Oh." The little fellow responded. She seemed to feel a little unsatisfied, but she still took back the flames. The flames in her eyes flickered twice, and then slowly disappeared. Hu Shaoxian was shocked. She didn't expect that the little fellow's eyes of phoenix would be so powerful. She had tested the hardness of the millennium cold steel, and even the purple flash sword could do nothing to it. But it couldn't resist the little fellow at all. Qin Haodong was also a little surprised. After the eyes of phoenix reached the basic level, the flames released by the little fellow had progressed from innate fire to 3 true fire. Although there was still some gap, it was not big. "Papa, how is it? Am I awesome?" The little fellow cried excitedly. "Awesome, it's really awesome." Qin Haodong then warned, "Tang Tang, don't use the eyes of phoenix without Papa's permission in the future." "Oh. I got it." The little fellow said obediently, "Papa, when are we going home? I miss my mom a little. Let's go now." The trip to Shenangjia was a complete success, and they even overfulfilled the task. All 3 of them got great benefits, and now it was time to go back. Qin Haodong thought of something and put the dragon-shaped beast head and the fallen millennium cold steel into the storage ring. Although the dragon-shaped beast head had lost its upper-level spirit stone, it was still a valuable antique, and the millennium cold steel was a good material for refining weapons. Naturally, it couldn't be left here. The 3 of them walked out of the basement and came to the formation where Lei Tianrui and others were trapped. At this moment, all 5 of them were lying on the ground, barely breathing. They could no longer care about the illusory treasures around them. Normal people could only endure for 3 days without food and water. If they were not martial artists, they would have starved to death long ago. Even so, they were so hungry that their eyes were sunken and their faces were pale. They no longer had any strength left. Qin Haodong raised his hand and patted the wall next to him. This was the formation eye of the illusory matrix. After breaking the illusory matrix, he collected the formation plate and formation flag here. Although he was proficient in array formations, the materials needed to refine array discs and array flags were extremely rare. These things could be used to set up arrays in the future. The formation was broken. Lei Tianrui and the others immediately saw Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian standing next to them. Looking at the 3 people in high spirits, they couldn't care less anymore. They cried weakly, "Water, give me some water." Although these people were hateful, they were her companions after all. Hu Shaoxian still took out several bottles of mineral water and gave each of them a bottle. After they got the water, they didn't care much anymore and drank the water in the bottle in one go. With the nourishment of the water, they immediately became much more energetic. "Shaoxian, do you have anything to eat? Give us some." Lei Tianrui was so hungry that his eyes turned green. As a son of an aristocratic family, he had never tasted the feeling of not eating for 5 days. Hu Shaoxian sneered and said, "What? Aren't you afraid that we will rob you of your treasures and scripts?" Lei Tianrui came to his senses. He looked around and cried crazily, "Where are my treasures? Where are my secret manuals? Where are my medicinal pills?" Zhao Qinkuan was a formation master after all. At this time, he had already seen the clues. He said, "Boss, stop shouting. Those are all fake. We just fell into the illusory matrix." The illusory matrix set by Xikong Zhaixing was really powerful. At the same time, it also had the effect of a maze. Lei Tianrui and the others fantasized about getting the treasures, but they couldn't get out, so they finally fainted here because of hunger. Lei Tianrui couldn't accept the fact for a moment. He cried crazily again, "What? You said it's all fake. How could it be fake? Didn't we find the treasures? All right, wake up. There is no treasure here at all." Hu Shaoxian said, "This is just a cave left by a senior cultivator. There are no treasures in it. There must be treasures here. You must have hidden them. Let me have a look." Lei Tianrui said and rushed to Hu Shaoxian with his hands open. It seemed that he was going to search her. "Get out of here." Hu Xiaoxian's patience with this guy had reached its limit. She kicked the weak Lei Tianrui away. Lei Tianrui hit the cave wall heavily and slid to the ground. Until then, he was a little sober. He slowly came to his senses and sat on the ground wearily. "Xiaoxian, don't blame the boss. He was just impulsive." Zhao Qianquan said, "Do you have anything to eat? Give us some, we're starving to death." He was a smart man. He saw that Hu Shaoxian and the other two stayed in the cave for 5 days, but they were still in good spirits. Obviously, they had something to eat. "We don't have anything to eat. We rely on these elixirs." That was what Hu Shaoxian and Qin Haodong had discussed. They couldn't say anything about the inheritance, let alone the storage ring. So Qin Haodong picked out some nourishing elixirs from the elixir room and said that they survived with these elixirs. As for the instructions, they only said that they found these elixirs and nothing else. Hu Shaoxian gave the elixirs to the 5 people one by one. Lei Tianrui and the others didn't care anymore and directly swallowed the elixirs. These elixirs were made by Xikong Zhaixing himself. Although some of the efficacy had been lost because of the long time, the basic nourishing effect was still there. After the 5 people took the elixirs, their hunger suddenly disappeared and they regained their strength. Lei Tianrui ran his genuine qi and felt that he had recovered to the peak state. He immediately became full of confidence. He kept glancing at Qin Haodong and the other 2 people. He always felt that they had secretly hidden treasures. "Let's go in and have a look." He glared at Qin Haodong and then went into the cave with several people. After carefully looking around, he didn't find any treasures. The only thing he saw were the elixirs left in the elixir room. He didn't have Qin Haodong's medical skills, so he couldn't accurately distinguish the properties and functions of these elixirs. So these elixirs were useless to him. He couldn't take one at random, or it might kill him. He couldn't accept that he had to return empty-handed after so much hard work. He looked at Hu Shaoxian and Qin Haodong and said, "Since it's the cave left by the seniors, there must be treasures in it. They must have been taken by you too. We came here together. You can't eat them alone. You have to share some with us." Hu Shaoxian said, "You see, there's nothing here. What can we get? It's hard to believe what you said, unless you let us search you." Lei Tianrui said, pointing to Qin Haodong, especially his backpack. "I guess there must be something hidden in it." Hu Xiaoxian's face changed and she said, "Lei Tianrui, who do you think you are? We didn't get anything. Even if we got something, why should we share it with you? You even want to search us. Who gave you the courage?" Lei Tianrui smiled and said, "Well, I'm right. You must have hidden the treasures. It's okay if you share some with us. But if you want to eat them alone, don't blame us for being rude." After that, he waved his hand. Zhao Qianquan and others immediately surrounded Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian. It seemed that they would rob them if they didn't agree. Hu Shaoxian said angrily, "Lei Tianrui, don't go too far. Don't forget that we just saved you. Qin Haodong said, Xiao Xian, I told you that this guy is an ungrateful wolf. We should have just left them here to fend for themselves. Lei Tianrui said, don't talk nonsense. You didn't have good intentions from the beginning to the end. Otherwise, why did you leave us in the illusion just now? You ran out first. Didn't you want to take the treasures here? Hurry up and throw me your backpack. Since you saved us once, I'll let you off this time. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving this place. Qin Haodong sneered and said, I've never seen such a shameless person like you. You can always blame others for your own incompetence. Hu Shaoxian said, Haodong, ignore this shameless person. Let's go. Then she pulled Qin Haodong and walked out of the cave. Stop right there. Hu Shaoxian, don't think that you can do whatever you want since you've reached the second level of covert power. We can also keep you here together. Lei Tianrui shouted to Zhao Qiankuan and others, let's do it together and share the treasures equally. Although he was full of confidence, he bypassed Hu Shaoxian and directly rushed to Qin Haodong. He slapped Qin Haodong's face with one hand and grabbed the backpack behind Qin Haodong with the other. In his mind, Qin Haodong's cultivation had always been lower than Hu Shaoxian's, so he naturally wanted to bully the weak. He never dreamed that Qin Haodong's cultivation had jumped to the 5th level of covert power. What's more, he practiced cultivation methods. He was absolutely invincible among the masters at the same level. The result could be imagined. Lei Tianrui wanted to take advantage of Qin Haodong, but he kicked an iron plate. Qin Haodong held the little fellow in one hand and slapped Lei Tianrui's face with the other. The slap looked simple, but it was fast and fierce. He was slapped away like a slap to his grandson. Before Lei Tianrui figured out what was going on, he hit the wall of the cave heavily again. But this time, it was much heavier than Hu Shaoxian's kick. Half of his face was swollen and his teeth fell to the ground. You! When did you become so powerful? He got up from the ground and looked at Qin Haodong in horror. The slap made him feel that Qin Haodong's cultivation was at least above the 3rd level of covert power. He was much more powerful than Hu Shaoxian. But he was more sure that Qin Haodong had got something good, or he wouldn't have improved so quickly. Zhao Qiankuan and Dong Sihai were going to grab the treasure together. But before they could do anything, Lei Tianrui was slapped like a grandson. They were so scared that they stopped immediately. Qin Haodong glanced around coldly and said with a murderous look, I don't care whether you are from the Shenyuan pavilion or not. If you dare to make trouble for me again, I will kill you. Lei Tianrui and the others trembled with fear when they met Qin Haodong's eyes. Although they were extremely unwilling, strength decided everything. It was obvious that they were no match for Qin Haodong's one hand even if they fought together. How could they dare to say no? Let's go. Qin Haodong held the little fellow in one hand and Hu Shaoxian in the other. The three of them walked out of the cave. Seeing that they were all gone, Lei Tianrui and others naturally would not stay and followed them out of the cave. Chapter 225. At this time, the entrance of the cave was surrounded by more than 20 neon ninjas, led by the neon warrior, Yamamoto Kusakara. A little ninja said respectfully, Lord Jonin, we've been waiting for 5 days. Could those cunning Wuxia people have died in the cave? Yamamoto Kusakara said, that's impossible. There are masters among them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have led us here so easily. People like them won't die so easily. Is it possible that those Wuxia people went out from other caves after getting the treasures? Yamamoto Kusakara said, that's even more impossible. The ancient Wuxia cultivators were very powerful. They always left only one cave entrance and never left a way out in their cave residence. So you don't have to worry about them sneaking away. But it's been 5 days and they still haven't done anything. That's not normal. No, it's normal. The cave residence of the Wuxia people is very troublesome. There are all kinds of formations and traps in it. If you don't know these things, you'll be dead when you go in. So they may be breaking the formations or being trapped somewhere. But don't worry, they'll come out sooner or later. Yamamoto Kusakara said with a proud face, that's why I asked these people from the Shenyuan Pavilion to be the vanguard. Otherwise, we'll definitely be injured if we go in directly. We won't be as complete as we are now. In this way, we can minimize the loss and get the treasures they found. I guess the Wuxia people can't even imagine that everything they've done is to serve our neon warriors. Let's use a saying in Wuxia, it's called picking peaches. Lord Jonin is really talented and bold. Of course, the little ninja knew very well that his superior liked to show off, so he hurried to flatter him. At this time, a ninja who had been watching at the door ran over and shouted, Lord Jonin, there seems to be something in the cave. Great! They finally came out. Yamamoto Kusakara said excitedly, get ready, everyone. Don't let those Wuxia people get out. All their treasures are ours. When Qin Haodong and the others walked out of the cave, they suddenly saw that the entrance of the cave was full of neon people. Hu Shaoxian and the others' expressions changed. As members of the special department, they often dealt with neon people. They immediately recognized that these were the most powerful ninjas in neon. At the same time, they also understood what they were here for. It was obvious that they were waiting to reap the benefits. Qin Haodong didn't care at all. He looked at Yamamoto Kusakara and said jokingly, what do you mean? Are you here to welcome us? A little ninja stepped forward and shouted, ignorant Wuxia people, don't you know that you're about to die? Yamamoto Kusakara waved his hand, signaling the little ninja to step back. Then, he said arrogantly, let me introduce myself. I'm Yamamoto Kusakara, a jonin from Neon. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Yamamoto Kusakara. He is Yamamoto Kusakara. Lei Tianrui and the others were agitated. In order to know themselves and their enemies well, they often learned about the masters of their enemies. Yamamoto Kusakara was one of them. Although he was not the top master in Neon, he had reached the third level of covert power. Among them, Lei Tianrui was at the first level of covert power. Hu Shaoxian was a little more powerful, but she was only at the second level of covert power. Maybe only Qin Haodong could compete with this old guy. But apart from Yamamoto Kusakara, there were so many middle-level ninjas who had also reached the 9th level of overt power. It seemed that the situation was not optimistic today. Yamamoto Kusakara seemed to notice the change in their expressions. He laughed and said, I'm sure you've heard of my name. Now that you know how powerful I am, hand over the treasures you've obtained. Maybe I'll spare your lives if I'm in a good mood. I'll deal with this old guy. Later, you and Shaoxian take the treasures and run. Remember, we can't let the treasures of Wuxia fall into the hands of Neon people. After that, Lei Tianrui strode to Yamamoto Kusakara with his men. Qin Haodong was stunned. He didn't expect this selfish and ungrateful guy to have such a brave side. He didn't hesitate to sacrifice himself in front of the Neon people. He wouldn't believe it if he didn't see it with his own eyes. At this time, Lei Tianrui shouted, Yamamoto Kusakara, how dare you Neon people come to our Wuxia casually? Casually? Yamamoto Kusakara laughed arrogantly and said, we didn't come here casually. It's something we've been planning for a long time. How do you think the intelligence department of Wuxia got the map? We made it and gave it to you. What? You gave us the map? Lei Tianrui was shocked. Qin Haodong had some speculations about this after his experience with the Devilish Five, but he didn't expect that it was the Neon people behind the scenes. Of course, that piece of paper of yours is just a copy. The real map is in my hands. Yamamoto Kusakara seemed to feel that he was going to win. He was not in a hurry to fight. He raised his hand and took out an ancient sheepskin map. See? This is the map I got. Chin Haodong glanced at the sheepskin map in Yamamoto Kusakara's hand. It was a bit old, but it seemed to be only 100 or 200 years old. There was still some time before Sikong Jaixing died. It seemed that some cultivator or explorer had been here after Sikong Jaixing's death and made the map when he was blocked outside the formation. Then it was accidentally passed to the Neon people. Yamamoto Kusakara continued, "Are you wondering why we gave the map to the Shenyuan Pavilion when we got it? Actually, it's very simple. I tried several times, but I couldn't break the formation at the door. Only you Chinese people can break the strange things that you Wuxia people have researched. So I thought about it and casually used a trick to make you work for me. You don't know, but we've been following you all the way. As the old saying goes, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind." Speaking of this, he laughed arrogantly again. It seemed that he was very satisfied with what he had done. Lei Tianrui said, "It's hard to say who is the mantis and who is the oriole. Don't forget that this is Wuxia. It's not your place to be arrogant." Yamamoto Kusakara said, "There's an old saying in Wuxia that a wise man submits to circumstances. Can't you see that you're surrounded now? You're no match for us in terms of strength. Listen to me. You've finished your mission. Hand over the treasure and I'll spare your life." Lei Tianrui said, "Yamamoto Kusakara, you've been fooled. This map is fake. There's nothing in this cave. You don't have to think about treasures. Do you think I'm a fool?" Yamamoto Kusakara laughed wildly. Then his expression suddenly changed. He said fiercely, "Hand over the treasure and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, I'll have to kill you and search your bodies." Lei Tianrui yelled, "Cut the crap. My life is here. Take it if you can." He drew out a long sword and turned back to Chin Haodong and Zhao Qiankuan. He said in a low voice, "I'll deal with this old Japanese. You go." Then he swung his long sword and rushed to Yamamoto Kusakara. At the same time, Zhao Qiankuan, Xie Ziden and others also rushed to the Japanese ninja with a shout. Yamamoto Kusakara drew out his katana and laughed. "Stupid Wuxia people. Sometimes it's not enough to fight with your life. Strength is what matters in the end. Go to hell, you Japanese." Lei Tianrui roared. The long sword in his hand turned into a streak of light and went straight to Yamamoto Kusakara's throat. "Sick man of East Asia, you're too weak." Yamamoto Kusakara chopped at him with his katana. Compared to Lei Tianrui's sword, it was more powerful and imposing. When the sword and the sword collided, Lei Tianrui's sword was cut in half by the katana. "Wuxia man, you're no match for me." While Lei Tianrui was still in a daze, Yamamoto Kusakara kicked him hard in the stomach and sent him flying. The kick was so powerful that Lei Tianrui was kicked several times in the air. When he was about to fall on the ground, a big hand reached out and grabbed his belt, gently putting him on the ground. Lei Tianrui looked up and found it was Chin Haodong who caught him. He said angrily, "Why are you still here? This old Japanese guy is very powerful." Chin Haodong said, "Why should I go? They're just a few Japanese guys. They're in our territory. They should be the ones to leave." While they were talking, Zhao Qiankuan and others were also defeated. All of them were more or less injured. With their cultivation of the 9th level of overt power, they could fight against a middle-level ninja. But they would definitely lose if they fought against 2 ninjas. Besides, there were 4 or 5 times more ninjas than them. Seeing that he was going to win, Yamamoto Kusakara laughed again and said, "What do you think? You're not strong enough. Just give us the treasures. You Wuxia people don't deserve them." Just as he was laughing happily, he heard a childish voice say, "Papa, this guy is too ugly. He looks disgusting." Yamamoto Kusakara's expression suddenly changed. He looked at Chin Haodong and the little fellow in his arms and said angrily, "Little girl, what did you say?" Didn't you hear? My daughter said you're too ugly. Chin Haodong took 2 steps forward and said to Yamamoto Kusakara with a playful face, "You Japanese guys stole our Wuxia culture, but you're not good at it. Your parents actually gave you such a funny name. Do you know what Kusakara means in our Wuxia? It means nothing. It's weightless. To put it bluntly, it's just a fart. Fuck, boy, you're courting death." Yamamoto Kusakara roared and raised his katana high. But before he chopped down, he heard Chin Haodong say coldly, "What are you shouting for? You're too noisy." Then a big slap landed on his face. Yamamoto Kusakara was still holding the long katana and was about to chop down. He was slapped across the air and knocked down 4 or 5 ninjas in a row. What? How is that possible? Lei Tianrui and the others were stunned. They had just experienced the power of these Japanese ninjas. They didn't expect that Chin Haodong could still slap them as if they were children. Chin Haodong even slapped them away with a child in his arms. Yamamoto Kusakara climbed down from the ground and couldn't believe what he had seen. The proud Jonin was slapped by a young Wuxia man in public. He couldn't accept it. He raised his katana and shouted wildly, "Wuxia man, I'll kill you. Didn't you say it's useless to risk your life? Strength is what matters in the end." Chin Haodong dodged Yamamoto Kusakara's attack and kicked him in the stomach. It was almost the same as the kick on Lei Tianrui. Yamamoto Kusakara was kicked more than 10 meters away. Chapter 226. Yamamoto Kusakara was more seriously injured this time. He began to vomit blood. He struggled to get up from the ground. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He had been practicing martial arts for more than 30 years. Why couldn't he take one blow from a young man in his 20s? But the fact was that he had been beaten like a dog twice in a row. "You bastard. Let's go together and kill him." At Yamamoto Kusakara's order, 20 ninjas rushed to Chin Haodong with swords in their hands. A bunch of nobodies. Chin Haodong had reached the 5th level of the covert power. He didn't care about those low-level ninjas. He rushed into the crowd with the little fellow. Soon, the ninjas screamed and flew into the air. Hu Shaoxian shouted and fought side by side with Chin Haodong with the purple flash sword in her hand. The 2 masters of the 5th level of the covert power were fighting against a low-level ninja of the 9th level of the overt power. The situation was completely one-sided. Lei Tianrui, Zhao Qiankuan and the others wanted to help, but the fight was over before they could do anything. The 20 aggressive ninjas all fell to the ground. Chin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian were not kind people. They would not show mercy to those Japanese who tried to kill people and rob their treasures in Wuxia. No one was left alive. That's awesome. Lei Tianrui was so surprised that his eyeballs almost fell to the ground. It turned out that Chin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian's cultivation had reached such a high level. It was ridiculous that he had tried to rob them just now. Wasn't it like a mouse paying for a cat? Yamamoto Kusakara was even more shocked than him. He had planned this trip to Wuxia alone. He thought that a superior ninja and 20 middle ninjas were enough to complete the mission. He didn't expect that they would fail so miserably. He had failed the mission. Even if he could go back alive, he would be severely punished. He shouted at Chin Haodong crazily, "Who are you? Why do you fight against us Japanese ninjas? Aren't you afraid of death?" Chin Haodong smiled disdainfully, "It's you who will die, isn't it? Wuxia man, you forced me to do this. Let's die together." Yamamoto Kusakara roared madly and spat out another mouthful of blood. He took out a black remote control and placed his thumb on the red button. "Wuxia people, our Japanese ninjas are not so easy to deal with. Explosives have been buried under your feet. As long as I press this button, none of you will survive." Chin Haodong was shocked, but there was no change in his expression. He said lightly, "In that case, why didn't you press it?" Yamamoto Kusakara said, "Give me the treasures you got and I'll spare your lives." This was his only hope for survival. As long as he could bring the treasure of Wuxia back to Neon, the death of more than 20 low-level ninjas would not be a big deal. Otherwise, he would have to disembowel as an apology. Hu Shaoxian said, "Yamamoto Kusakara, you are a superior ninja. How could you do such a dirty thing?" Yamamoto Kusakara's expression froze. As a jonin, it was indeed embarrassing for him to threaten a martial artist with explosives. However, he couldn't care less at this point. He couldn't defeat the man, so he had to resort to this method. He yelled, "Cut the crap and hand over the treasures, or you'll die." Qin Haodong said, "But how can we trust you? If you press the bomb after we give you the treasures, we'll lose our treasures and our lives." Yamamoto Kusakara said, "Don't worry about that. We Japanese ninjas value our credibility the most. We'll definitely let you go if we say we'll let you go." Bullsh *T. Hu Shaoxian swore angrily and said, "As a martial artist, you've done such a shameless thing. How can you ask us to trust your credibility? The whole world knows that you Neon people lack credibility the most." Yamamoto Kusakara said with a ferocious look, "Wuxia people, you have no room for bargaining. You can only choose to trust me, or die." Qin Haodong turned to Hu Shaoxian and said, "Trust him this time. Give him the treasures. Your life is more important." Before Hu Shaoxian could speak, Lei Tianrui and the others yelled with excitement, "Qin Haodong, you coward. The treasures belong to Wuxia. You can't give them to that Neon guy even if we blow them up. They're mine. Why are you so excited?" Qin Haodong said as he took off the backpack from his back. Hu Shaoxian said anxiously, "Haodong, you can't give them to him. He'll definitely blow us up if you do. Neon people have never been trustworthy. What can we do? Do we have any other choice? My daughter is still so young. I can't let her die with us." Qin Haodong turned to Yamamoto Kusakara and said, "The treasures are all here. Take them. Remember your promise. Wuxia people, you're smart. You made the right choice." Yamamoto Kusakara's pale face flushed with excitement. "Cut the crap. Take the treasures and let us go." Qin Haodong said as he raised the backpack in his hand to Yamamoto Kusakara. Seeing his action, the others were all surprised. Was Qin Haodong going to use the treasures as bait to subdue the old Neon guy? Thinking of this, Lei Tianrui and the others shut their mouths again and stood there in silence. If they could think of this, so could the cunning Yamamoto Kusakara. He said, "No, you're too powerful. I can't go there." Qin Haodong said, "How about this? I'll put the treasures on the ground, and then we'll step aside. You take the treasures." "No, you can't move. Stand there and don't move." Yamamoto Kusakara immediately stopped Qin Haodong. He only buried the explosives at the entrance of the cave. If Qin Haodong and the others took the opportunity to retreat into the cave, all his previous efforts would be in vain. Qin Haodong said, No, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to throw them over? The treasures in the backpack are not very strong. Don't blame me if they break." Yamamoto Kusakara did have such an idea, but he changed his mind after hearing Qin Haodong's words. How could he get the treasures safely? Suddenly, he had an idea. He pointed at the little fellow in Qin Haodong's arms and said, "Ask the child to bring the backpack over." In his opinion, the little fellow was the least threatening one among all of them. Such a young child could not be a kung fu master. Qin Haodong said hesitantly, "But my daughter is too young. She'll be afraid." "Don't be afraid. I'm a kind person. I like children the most. Ask her to come over. And you have no other choice now. If I press the remote control, the child will die a more miserable death. Yamamoto Kusakara looked proud. It seemed that he had found a way to restrain Qin Haodong. Well, I'll have a try. Qin Haodong said to the little fellow helplessly, Tang Tang, how about you bring the backpack over to him? Sure, I'll listen to Papa. The little fellow nodded and said. Well, go ahead. Qin Haodong put the little fellow down and handed the backpack to her. The things in the backpack did not seem to be too heavy. The little fellow picked it up and walked slowly to Yamamoto Kusakara. No, it belongs to Wuxia. We can't give it to the Japanese. Lei Tianrui and the other four shouted and rushed to the little fellow, trying to grab the backpack. Qin Haodong moved and turned into a shadow. In the blink of an eye, all five of them fell to the ground. Hu Xiaoxian's face twitched when she saw the five of them just passed out, but she did not say anything in the end. Well done. You'll be a friend of Neon in the future. Yamamoto Kusakara immediately smiled. He was seriously injured at this time. If Lei Tianrui and the other four really attacked him, it would be difficult for him to deal with them. He could not really press the button of the remote control. No one wanted to die as long as there was a chance of survival. Qin Haodong said, I'm just making a deal with you. I don't want to be your friend. Yamamoto Kusakara shook his head. He did not care about that. His eyes were completely attracted by the backpack in the little fellow's hand. Bad guy, here you are. The little fellow finally came to Yamamoto Kusakara and put the backpack on the ground angrily. Yamamoto Kusakara was ecstatic. He reached for the backpack, but he was still rational. His right hand was still holding the remote control tightly, and his thumb was on the red button. A slight touch of the remote control would blow up the place to the ground. He thought everything was done very carefully, but he did not see the fire in the little fellow's eyes. When his left hand was about to touch the backpack, two red flames suddenly shot out of the little fellow's eyes and directly engulfed the black remote control in Yamamoto Kusakara's hand. Ah! Yamamoto Kusakara suddenly let out a shrill scream. The little fellow's eyes of Phoenix not only burned the remote control into ashes, but also burned his hand. At the same time, the purple flash sword in Hu Xiaoxian's hand turned into a purple light and directly pierced the old man's throat, ending his life. Papa, is my cooking good? As soon as Yamamoto Kusakara died, the little fellow immediately took back the backpack and happily threw herself into Qin Haodong's arms. She had the Suzaku's sacred body, so her strength was not much different from that of an adult. What she did just now was just an act. Good. Tang Tang did a great job. She can be a star when she grows up. Qin Haodong turned to Hu Xiaoxian and said, You also did a good job. Some people say that women are born to be actors. It seems that it is true. Hu Xiaoxian smiled and said, You are a good director. It turned out that all this was a trap set by Qin Haodong. He knew that Yamamoto Kusakara would definitely let the little fellow send the things over. Then he told his plan to the little fellow and Hu Xiaoxian by secret voice sending. First, he asked Tang Tang to get close and burn the remote control with the phoenix flame. Then, he asked Hu Xiaoxian to kill Yamamoto Kusakara. The only flaw in this plan was that the little fellow's eyes of phoenix would be exposed. But Qin Haodong did not care that much in order to kill the Japanese. He did not expect that Lei Tianrui and the others would rush over to grab the backpack, which gave Qin Haodong a chance to make a move. He directly knocked all five of them out. The only flaw was gone. The plan was perfect. After all the Japanese were killed, Hu Xiaoxian patted the five of them to wake them up. Qin Haodong, you traitor. We will kill you. Lei Tianrui got up and was about to fight Qin Haodong, but he suddenly saw a backpack in front of him. Seeing that treasure was still there, he immediately calmed down. He turned around and saw Yamamoto Kusakara's body on the ground. How did you do it? He asked in surprise. When Yamamoto Kusakara threatened them with the bomb, countless ideas popped up in his mind, but there was no other way but to fight desperately. But the result was that he not only kept the treasure, but also killed the old Japanese. It has nothing to do with you, Qin Haodong said calmly. Although he had a better impression of Lei Tianrui and the others after what happened, they were not friends after all. There was no need to explain to them. Chapter 227. Seeing that Qin Haodong didn't want to explain, Lei Tianrui and the others didn't ask more. Fortunately, the treasure of Wuxia was finally saved, and it didn't fall into the hands of the Japanese. After leaving the cave, Qin Haodong broke the killing formation, trapping formation and concealing formation, and put all the formation flags and formation plates into his pocket. These things were very common in the cultivation world, but they were treasures on Earth. The refining materials were extremely rare, and it was almost impossible to refine them by himself. They retraced their steps back, and when it was almost evening, they finally passed through the beautiful but murderous basin-shaped valley and walked out of the death zone. As soon as they walked here, they heard the roar of a motor in the air, and then a large military transport helicopter stopped in an open space. Seeing the arrival of the helicopter, Qin Haodong and the others immediately entered a state of alert. After so many things, they didn't know whether it was an enemy or a friend. After the helicopter stopped, 7 or 8 people came down from it, led by a man and a woman. The old man was about 70 or 80 years old. He was tall and had a rather imposing appearance. The other old lady was completely different. Although she had white hair, her skin was beautiful, and she was full of charm. "Grandpa! Grandma!" Hu Shaoxian and Lei Tianrui shouted at the same time, and then rushed to the old lady and the old man respectively. The two people were the second elder of the Xian department of the Xianyuan Pavilion. Hu Feifei and Lei Wanjun, the third elder, were Hu Xiaoxian's grandmother and Lei Tianrui's grandfather. Qin Haodong looked at the two people. It seemed that the strength of the Xianyuan Pavilion was not ordinary. The two old men had reached the 9th level of covert power, which was no worse than the old Taoist Dao Tong. They could reach the supreme power realm with one step. "Grandma, why are you here?" Hu Shaoxian took Hu Feifei's hand and asked. "How dare you ask? It's been 5 or 6 days, and there's no news from you at all. How can we sit still? We have to come and have a look." Hu Feifei seemed to be blaming Hu Shaoxian, but her eyes were full of love. Hu Shaoxian said, "Grandma, it's not our fault. This place is very strange. There's no signal when we enter." On the other side, Lei Wanjun looked at Lei Tianrui, who was injured all over, and asked, "Boy, what's wrong with you? Who beat you like this?" "Grandpa, it's him." After seeing Lei Wanjun, Lei Tianrui was immediately emboldened. He pointed at Qin Haodong and shouted, "He not only hurt us, but also robbed the treasures of our Xianyuan pavilion." Qin Haodong frowned slightly when he saw this guy start to put the blame on him again. It seemed that other than having some integrity when facing the Japanese, his character had not changed at all. "Brat, did you hurt my grandson?" Lei Wanjun took 2 steps forward and faced Qin Haodong, releasing a powerful aura. If Qin Haodong was an ordinary warrior at the 5th level of covert power, he would definitely be defeated by such a huge pressure. However, Qin Haodong had a strong spirit, so he didn't care about a warrior at the 9th level of covert power. Seeing that Qin Haodong was still calm, Lei Wanjun was surprised. He was about to make another move when Hu Shaoxian stood in front of Qin Haodong and shouted, "Grandpa Lei, it's not like that at all." Lei Tianrui cried, "Hu Shaoxian, do you still want to help an outsider at this time?" Hu Shaoxian cried, "Lei Tianrui, are you shameless? If it weren't for Haodong's help, you would have died many times. How dare you put the blame on him?" Hu Feifei came over with her dragon head crutch. She pulled Hu Shaoxian and asked, "Girl, what the hell is going on? Who is this young man?" Hu Shaoxian said shyly, "Grandma, he's my boyfriend. Hu Feifei asked in surprise, your grandpa said that you were backfired by fox hypnosis. Is it this young man? That's him. Hu Shaoxian said and nodded hard. Hu Feifei looked at Qin Haodong again as if she was looking at her son-in-law. She nodded with satisfaction and said, not bad, young man. He's perfect to be my grandson-in-law. When she heard that Hu Shaoxian was backfired by fox hypnosis, she was really worried. She was afraid that the other party was an old and ugly monster. She didn't expect it to be a young and handsome man. She couldn't help but feel happy for Hu Shaoxian. At this time, she saw the little fellow again. She turned to Hu Shaoxian and said, girl, what's the matter with this little girl? Did you give birth to her? Hu Shaoxian blushed and said, Grandma, what are you talking about? How can I be so fast? This is Haodong's daughter. It's a pity. The young man is good, but he has a baby. Hu Feifei's face showed a trace of regret and said, but it's not bad. It's better than finding an old man, and this little girl is also cute. Seeing that Hu Feifei and Hu Shaoxian were judging him as if they were picking a son-in-law, Qin Haodong felt helpless, but he couldn't find a suitable excuse. At this time, Lei Tianrui said, Grandpa, you also saw that Hu Shaoxian and this little white face are a group. They too robbed our Xianyuan pavilion's treasure together. Hu Shaoxian said angrily, Lei Tianrui, what nonsense are you talking about? Who robbed you of your treasure? No. It's on that little white face's back. Lei Tianrui pointed to the backpack behind Qin Haodong and said. He had already determined that the treasure in the underground palace was in this backpack. Lei Wanjuan's face darkened and he said, Old woman Hu, we are all from the Xianyuan pavilion. Your granddaughter colluded with outsiders to rob my grandson's treasure. You must give me an explanation for this. Old man Lei, don't talk nonsense. My granddaughter won't care about your grandson's stuff. Hu Feifei said to Hu Shaoxian, Girl, what the hell is going on? Tell me, and I'll help you and my grandson-in-law. Qin Haodong was speechless. How did I become your grandson-in-law, he thought to himself. Well, Grandma, Hu Shaoxian told him everything from receiving the task to entering Shenangjia and meeting Qin Haodong in the black shop to how Qin Haodong defeated Yamamoto Kusakara. She told him everything except for the fact that they got the inheritance of Sikong Jiaxing. Lei Wanjun and Hu Feifei's faces changed when they heard that Qin Haodong had successively poisoned the Devilish Five, used a small leaf to drive away the hell-souled devouring ants, broke the 4 tactical deployments in the underground palace, and finally killed more than 20 ninjas from Neon, including a superior ninja. They were afraid that they couldn't do those things. Girl, you're lucky to have such a good son-in-law. Hu Feifei turned to Lei Wanjun and said, Old man Lei, did you hear that? My grandson-in-law saved your grandson so many times. How dare your useless grandson say that my grandson-in-law robbed him? It seems that you should teach him a lesson when we get back. Lei Wanjun said to Lei Tianrui with a sullen face, Is that so? Lei Tianrui said awkwardly, Qin Haodong did save me several times, but we paid. In the end, he threw us into the magic formation and took Hu Shaoxian into the underground palace. The treasures inside should have belonged to the Xianyuan pavilion, but he took them. Lei Wanjun said to Hu Feifei, Old woman Hu, did you hear that? Although your grandson-in-law saved my grandson, that's business. Those treasures belong to the Xianyuan pavilion. We can't let him take them away alone. Seeing Lei Wanjuan's attitude, Qin Haodong knew why Lei Tianrui was so ungrateful. It turned out that it was passed down from his ancestors. According to common sense, Lei Tianrui should express his gratitude first after knowing that he had saved Lei Tianrui so many times. Instead of saying thanks, this guy kept asking for treasures. What treasure could be more important than his grandson's life? Hu Shaoxian said, Grandpa Lei, the underground palace is just the ruins of a predecessor. There's nothing in it except some elixirs. They saw it later, but there were no treasures. Lei Tianrui cried, "Don't quibble. The treasures are in the backpack on his back. If you want me to believe that there are no treasures, you have to show me the backpack." Hu Shaoxian said angrily, "Lei Tianrui, can you be more shameless? You don't have the ability to enter the underground palace and you're so confident. Not to mention that Haodong didn't find anything, even if he did, it has nothing to do with you. He got in with his ability. The underground palace was left by Situ Zhaixing. The treasures in it are ownerless. Whoever gets them can keep them. They don't belong to anyone. Hu Shaoxian, don't forget that you're also a member of the Shenyuan Pavilion." Lei Tianrui turned back and said to Lei Wanjun, "Grandpa, you heard them. They're in cahoots. It's obvious that they're giving away the treasures of the Shenyuan Pavilion." Lei Wanjun waved his hand to shut him up. Then he said to Qin Haodong, "Boy, although you're somewhat capable, the underground palace was discovered by the Shenyuan Pavilion. The treasures can't belong to you alone. How about this, you give me the backpack and I'll see what's in it. Then we'll redistribute it. Don't worry, with my seniority, I won't let you suffer any losses." Qin Haodong showed a trace of sarcasm on his face. It would be strange if he believed what Lei Tianrui and Lei Wanjun said. He said, "There are only some personal belongings in the backpack. There's nothing else, so there's no need for you to check it." Lei Tianrui cried, "It's not up to you to decide whether there are treasures or not. We'll know after we see it." Qin Haodong sneered and said, "Who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have to see my backpack? Boy, you're too arrogant." After saying that, Lei Wanjun flew up like a big bird and reached for the backpack on Qin Haodong's back. His speed was extremely fast, and a strong pressure enveloped Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong's heart tightened. Although his cultivation had reached the 5th level of covert power, there was still a big gap between him and the 9th level of covert power. In the face of such a powerful attack, he could only avoid it first. At this moment, a figure flashed. Hu Feifei stood in front of Qin Haodong and raised her hand to take Lei Wanjun's palm. The two masters exchanged blows, and suddenly there was a kind of earth-shaking momentum. The strong airflow swept the fallen leaves on the ground and scattered them around wildly. Lei Wanjun and Hu Feifei were equal in strength. He was shaken by the palm and flew back. When his feet landed on the ground, he said angrily, "Old woman Hu, are you going to protect him?" Hu Feifei said, "So what if I'm protecting him? As long as I'm here, you can't touch a finger of my grandson-in-law." Lei Wanjun cried, "Old woman Hu, don't forget that you're also a member of the Shenyuan Pavilion. If you really cause the treasure to be lost, your old man won't be able to bear the blame when the pavilion master blames you." Hu Feifei's expression changed slightly, but she still said rudely, "So what? I'll take care of it." Although his identity as the grandson-in-law was not confirmed, Qin Haodong still had a good impression of this old woman. He didn't want to bring trouble to Hu Xiaoxian's family because of him. He said to Lei Wanjun, "Old man, let me ask you something. What kind of organization is the Shenyuan Pavilion? Is it a gang of bandits?" Chapter 228. Lei Wanjun said, "Nonsense. The Shenyuan Pavilion is a special department of Huaxia. How could it be a den of bandits?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Since it's not bandits, it's easy. How about we talk sense? Sure, I'm the most reasonable person." "That's easy." Qin Haodong said as he took out a stack of IOUs and said to Lei Wanjun, "Please have a look. These are the IOUs written by your people. Each of you is 10 million, and the other one is 5 million with a 50% discount. That's 45 million in total. Is it okay for me to ask for the money now?" Lei Wanjun was stunned. But he had just talked sense. As an elder of the Xian department of the Shenyuan Pavilion, he couldn't go back on his word. He turned to Lei Tianrui and the others and asked, "Did you write these IOUs?" They looked at each other. It was written in black and white. They had to admit it. Besides, there was a witness, Hu Xiaoxian. They had to admit it. Grandpa, we wrote the IOUs. Lei Wanjun said, stop talking nonsense. Pay the money now. Okay. I'll pay it back. Lei Tianrui didn't intend to pay the 10 million, but he didn't expect to find the IOUs after looking for the treasure. He had to take out his phone and pay the money. After him, Xie Zidong paid 5 million. Then Zhao Qinkuan, Dong Sihai and Wang Yuanqing each paid 10 million. After Qin Haodong took the money, Lei Wanjun looked at him and said, now that you've paid the money, what else do you have to say? Qin Haodong nodded with satisfaction. Then he took the backpack off his back and said, since you've paid the money, let's continue to reason. This bag is mine. I said there's no treasure inside, but you insist. How about this? I'll sell it to you, and you can buy it. Whether there's treasure inside or not has nothing to do with me. This is a fair and just way, isn't it? Well. Lei Wanjun wasn't sure what was in the bag. He looked back at Lei Tianrui. Lei Tianrui was sure that the treasure was in the bag. He said, okay. Tell me, how much do you want? Since you said there was treasure, the price of the treasure must be higher. 100 million yuan, no less. 100 million. Isn't that too much? Lei Tianrui said awkwardly. As a son of a rich family, although he had some money, he was blackmailed by Qin Haodong. Now there was only 100 million in his account. If he really spent it, he would become a pauper. Qin Haodong said, not a penny less. You said that the bag is a treasure. If you take out 100 million yuan, it's yours. If you can't, then forget it. Hu Xiaoxian said, Lei Tianrui, I told you that there's nothing in the cave, and there's no treasure in this bag. The more they talked like this, the more Lei Tianrui thought they were trying to scare him away with 100 million. So he gritted his teeth and said, you must keep your word. If I really give you 100 million, you must give me the backpack. Qin Haodong said, of course, Senior Hu and Senior Lei are watching. I always do business honestly. I'm a man of my word. Lei Tianrui said, I'll pay 100 million. Now give me the bag. Qin Haodong said, that won't do. If you take the bag and find there's nothing in it, what if you go back on your word and refuse to pay? Senior Lei's cultivation is so high that I can't do anything about it. Lei Wanjuan's face darkened and said, what do you mean? Do you think I, an elder, will go back on my word? Qin Haodong said with a smile, I don't know whether you'll go back on your word or not. If you want to buy it, pay first. Anyway, I can't run away with you here. And Senior Hu will be the witness. If I go back on my word, she won't agree. Lei Wanjun turned to Lei Tianrui and asked, are you sure you want to buy it? The implication was that Lei Tianrui was sure that there was treasure in the bag. Don't worry, Grandpa. They must have hidden it in the bag. Now they're bluffing. Lei Tianrui took out his phone and said to Qin Haodong, I'll pay for it. From now on, you're not allowed to touch this bag. With Lei Wanjun present, he was not afraid that Qin Haodong would go back on his word. He directly transferred 100 million yuan to Qin Haodong. After transferring the money, he said proudly, boy, let's see what else you can say now. After receiving the money, Qin Haodong smiled and took 2 steps back. He said, deal. We're done. From now on, this bag is yours. Seeing that Qin Haodong was still relaxed without any reluctance, Lei Tianrui had a bad feeling in his heart. He grabbed the bag and opened the zipper. The first thing he took out was a diaper. Then he took out the second one, which was also a diaper. He was a little dumbfounded. He took things out of the bag one after another. In addition to the diaper, there were also pacifiers, milk bottles, and toilet paper. Lei Tianrui looked unwilling. He didn't spend 100 million yuan on these things, did he? He continued to dig down, but this time, after searching for a long time, he still couldn't find anything. He could see the bottom of the backpack, and there was nothing inside. He looked crazy and shouted, "Impossible, it's impossible. Treasure, where did you put it?" He used to think that the bag was a treasure, but now it seemed that it was not. There was no treasure at all. Qin Haodong said jokingly, "I told you there was no treasure in the bag. You can't blame others for buying it." Hu Shaoxian also said, "I told you there was nothing in the cave. How could there be treasure in the bag? That Japanese guy was an idiot, but you were also an idiot. Impossible, it's impossible. You must have hidden the treasure somewhere else." Lei Tianrui still couldn't believe everything in front of him. He was sure that Qin Haodong had treasures. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Well, I still have a shirt and a pair of pants with me. They may also have treasures. I'll sell them to you. This time we're old customers. How about 10 million for each?" Although Lei Tianrui was unwilling, he could also see that Qin Haodong's bag was empty. There was not even a piece of paper in it. How could there be treasures? Lei Wanjun knew that he had lost face this time. He had spent 100 million on a pile of diapers. It was impossible for him to go back on his words. Hu Feifei was standing next to him. Besides, he was the third elder of the Xian department of Xian Fate Pavilion. He couldn't go back on his words for such a small thing. He could only vent his anger on Lei Tianrui. He said angrily, "You useless thing. Don't make a fool of yourself here. Go back now." "Grandpa." Lei Tianrui wanted to say something, but he had nothing to say. He could only walk to the helicopter unwillingly. Qin Haodong shouted, "Hey, don't go. Take your bag. It cost 100 million. You can't lose it like this." Lei Tianrui stared at him angrily and turned around to get on the helicopter. "It's a good bag. It will pollute the environment. Since you don't want it, I'll take it." Qin Haodong took the bag with a playful face and put it on his shoulder again. He had made 100 million in just a few minutes. Even old Maldini couldn't make money so fast. Hu Shaoxian laughed. A bag sold for 100 million yuan. No luxury brand could compare with it. It was probably the most expensive bag in the world. Hu Feifei looked at Qin Haodong. The more she looked at him, the more she liked him. He was handsome and smart. She praised, "Good boy. Shaoxian has good taste. She chose you as her son-in-law." Grandma Hu, in fact, Shaoxian and I, before Qin Haodong finished speaking, Hu Feifei said, "You don't have to explain. Although I'm a little old, I'm not backward in thinking. You young people can do whatever you want. I don't care if you live together before marriage or have sex alone in bed. I'll take care of my great-grandchildren when they are born." The old lady didn't give Qin Haodong a chance to explain. She turned around and got on the helicopter. Qin Haodong opened his mouth, but he couldn't say anything. The old lady seemed to have taken him as her grandson-in-law. Hu Shaoxian said, "Come with us, Haodong. Forget it. If I get on the plane, I don't know how much the old man named Lei will charge me for the ticket." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "I'll walk back with you. It's a kind of experience. At the same time, I can collect more herbs. I'm going to refine medicine." These were his true thoughts. Shenangjia was an uninhabited place. Not only was there a wide variety of medicinal herbs, but they were also wild herbs that had grown for many years. Especially in the uninhabited area, he even saw many old herbs that were hundreds of years old. Now that the little fellow's flame had been upgraded, his cultivation had also been greatly improved. He could refine all kinds of pills, even the wall-breaking pill to break through the bottleneck of the Foundation realm. Hu Shaoxian took Qin Haodong's hand and said reluctantly, "Well, I won't accompany you. You must be careful with me. I have to report to my superiors because of this task. I'll go to Jiangnan City to see you when I'm done." Well, Qin Haodong wanted to refuse, but he felt that it was a little hurtful, so he didn't say it. The little fellow was very reluctant to leave Hu Shaoxian. She said, "Aunt Shaoxian, you have to come to see me soon. I'll miss you." "Okay, I'll be back soon." After saying that, Hu Shaoxian kissed the little fellow on the cheek, and then kissed Qin Haodong on the cheek. Then she turned around and got on the plane. Soon the door of the helicopter was closed. It rose into the air with the violent roar of the motor and flew into the distance. It slowly turned into a small black spot and finally disappeared from sight. Everyone was gone. Qin Haodong walked slowly through the forest with the little fellow, picking all kinds of spiritual herbs along the way. 3 days later, they walked out of Shenangjia and boarded the plane back to Jiangnan City. At the exit of the airport, a tall and beautiful woman with a voluptuous figure and incomparably charming curves was guarding the exit, constantly looking into the airport. The woman was so beautiful. Her delicate cheeks were flawless, attracting the attention of countless male creatures. Many people wanted to talk to her, but they retreated when they saw the bodyguards around her. "Brother Saber, haven't they arrived yet?" The beautiful woman was Lin Momo, who came to pick up the plane. She had never been separated from the little fellow for so long. Besides, she missed Qin Haodong so much that she had been looking forward to seeing him these days. Saber said, "Miss Lin, don't worry. They'll be here soon." Just then, a tender voice came from the airport, "Mom, I'm back." These days, the little fellow really missed her mother. She threw herself into Lin Momo's arms. "Mommy, I miss you so much." The little fellow kissed Lin Momo on the cheek. Lin Momo kissed the little fellow back a few times, then hugged her and threw herself into Qin Haodong's arms. She complained, "Why were you gone for so many days? I couldn't get through to you on the phone for a few days. I was scared to death." Qin Haodong kissed Lin Momo on the delicate cheek and said, "It's a bit complicated. Let's go home and talk." Chapter 229. The little fellow didn't stick to Qin Haodong. Instead, she stayed in Lin Momo's arms. The trip to Shenangjia lasted 10 days. She really missed her mother. The three of them walked out of the airport together. Lin Momo said to the little fellow, "Tang Tang, are you happy after going out with Dad for so long?" "Of course I'm happy. Papa and I saw leopards, tigers, bison, a lot of animals, and very powerful ants." The little fellow danced with joy and finally said excitedly, "Mama, I also learned a very powerful skill from Papa. Do you want me to show it to you?" "No, you can't." Qin Haodong knew that the little fellow wanted to show off the eyes of Phoenix. He was shocked. The fire released by the little fellow was close to the Samadhi real fire. It could burn the entire airport. He quickly stopped her and said, "Tang Tang, don't forget what I told you. You can't use fire in front of outsiders." "Oh. All right then," the little fellow said with some disappointment. Lin Momo also knew the seriousness of the matter. She also advised, "Tang Tang, I know you're very powerful, but you must listen to Dad. Don't let others know your ability. Otherwise, you'll be taken away as a monster. Then Mom and Dad won't be able to see you again." "I know," the little fellow said cleverly. Originally, she had learned the eyes of Phoenix and was eager to show it to her mother. Now that she heard that she might not see Dad and Mom again, she naturally gave up the idea. They went out of the airport and came to Lin Momo's motorcade. Qin Haodong asked Saber to spare a car and drove himself. Lin Momo and the little fellow sat in the passenger seat next to him. He did not choose the nearest road back to Jiangnan City. Instead, he chose the beautiful Binhai Avenue. The family of three chatted intimately while enjoying the beautiful scenery outside the window. In front of Qin Haodong's car, there was a pickup truck full of cardboard boxes. Because he was enjoying the scenery along the way, Qin Haodong did not rush to overtake it. He had been walking slowly behind the pickup truck. But after walking for a while, three black cars suddenly rushed up from behind and blocked the road in front of them, stopping the small truck. There was no way ahead. Qin Haodong's car also stopped behind the pickup truck. After the three cars stopped, 7 or 8 gangsters with steel pipes and knives jumped out immediately. After the yellow-haired gangster got out of the car, he pulled open the door of the pickup truck and dragged the driver out. The driver of the small truck turned out to be a young woman in her 20s. Although she was wearing a loose work uniform, it still could not hide her hot figure. Qin Haodong was slightly surprised. Generally speaking, women rarely drove trucks, but the driver was not only a woman, but also a very beautiful woman. After the hooligan pulled the woman out of the car, he grabbed her hair and began to punch and kick her. The little fellow also saw all this and shouted in the car, "Papa, look, the bad guys are bullying Auntie. Hurry up and help her." A large group of men bullied a woman. Of course, Qin Haodong could not ignore such a thing. Moreover, they were blocking his way. He opened the door and got out of the car, shouting to the gangsters, "Stop." A gangster looked back at Qin Haodong and shouted arrogantly, "Get out of here. How dare you meddle in everything? Are you tired of living? Be careful or I'll beat you up too." When Qin Haodong got out of the car, Saber and others naturally followed him. Seeing that a gangster dared to disrespect his boss, Saber immediately strode over. "Boy, don't come over, or I'll kill you." The gangster waved the dagger in his hand and shouted fiercely. But before he finished shouting, Saber kicked the dagger in his hand and then reached out to grab his hair and slapped him. The gangster's mouth was full of blood and his teeth fell. Seeing that his men were beaten, the yellow-haired gangster let go of the female driver and turned to Qin Haodong and shouted arrogantly, "Boy, don't think you're great just because you have some money. We're from Wilson Company. You can't afford to offend us. Listen to me and get out of here, or you'll have to bear the consequences." Qin Haodong touched his nose and turned to Lin Momo and said, "What does Wilson Company do? Is it so powerful?" Lin Momo said, "Wilson Company is a large multinational pharmaceutical company with a branch in Jiangnan. They have no business with our Lin's group. I don't know the specific situation. A pharmaceutical company had so many gangsters. It was not a good thing." Qin Haodong said to the yellow-haired gangster, "Let the woman go and get out of here." Seeing that Qin Haodong wanted to save the woman, the yellow-haired gangster's face changed and he shouted, "It seems that you don't want to live. You even dare to meddle in the affairs of Wilson Company." Then he waved his hand and shouted to the gangsters behind him, "Let's kill him together." Qin Haodong didn't know whether these gangsters had no brains or were used to being arrogant. They really rushed to Qin Haodong's side. Saber and the others naturally would not be polite to such people. They beat these gangsters up in a few moves. The yellow-haired gangster's arm was broken by the saber. Only then did he see the reality in front of him. He shouted to Qin Haodong, "Boy, wait and see. You won't have a good life if you offend our Wilson Company." After uttering these harsh words, he took his defeated subordinates to the car and ran away. The gangsters left. The female driver stood up from the ground, tidied her messy hair and said to Qin Haodong, "Little brother, thank you very much. Otherwise, I would have been finished today." Qin Haodong saw the woman's face clearly. She was really beautiful, but there was a trace of inextricable sadness between her eyebrows. He said, "It's a piece of cake. If you don't have anything to do, leave quickly. Otherwise, there will be trouble when those people come back. Little brother, thank you for saving me. Can you tell me your name and phone number? I'm in a hurry today. I'll invite you to dinner another day. My name is Qin Haodong. It's not a big deal. Qin Haodong could see that the woman's economic conditions were not well off. Otherwise, how could a woman's beautiful nature make her wear a work uniform? Goodbye, little brother. I'll see you another day. The woman seemed to be really in a hurry. She didn't ask Qin Haodong's phone number. She turned around and was about to leave. But after a few steps, she suddenly turned around and said excitedly, "Your name is Qin Haodong. Are you the medical sage?" Qin Haodong was slightly surprised. He didn't expect that the woman knew him. He said, "It's me. Medical sage, I beg you, please save my daughter." The woman knelt down in front of Qin Haodong and burst into tears. Qin Haodong helped the woman up and said, "Don't worry. Tell me slowly." The woman said, "Medical sage, my name is Lu Yage. I have a 5-year-old daughter who has been suffering from leukemia for 3 years. Because of the child's illness, I often read news about doctors on the internet. I know that you are the medical sage and that you can cure old Maldini's illness without surgery. Your medical skills are superb. You are a miracle-working doctor. Please save my daughter. She is only 5 years old. You must save her." After Lu Yage finished speaking, she was already sobbing. As a mother, Lin Momo's heart was softened by her crying. She said to Qin Haodong, "Haodong, she is so pitiful. Please help her daughter." The little fellow also said, "Yes, Papa, please help this aunt and save that little sister." Qin Haodong naturally would not refuse this poor woman. Qin Haodong said, "You go back first. I'll go home after seeing the patient." Then he asked Saber and others to escort Lin Momo home, and he got in Lu Yage's pickup. Lu Yage sat in the driver's seat, wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, and then began to start the car and drive forward. Seeing her skilled movements and good driving skills, Qin Haodong said, "It seems that you are an old driver. Have you been driving for a while?" Lu Yage said, "I've been working to earn money since Nyonyo was ill. It's been almost 3 years." Qin Haodong asked curiously, "Shouldn't a woman choose a service industry to work? And I think you look like a person with higher education. How did you become a driver?" "You're right. I graduated from Jiangnan College of Foreign Languages and worked as a translator in a foreign company. But the time requirement for translation is very high. I must be present when others have something to do. After the child was ill, my time could not be guaranteed. After several consecutive absences, I was fired. At first, I also tried the service industry. First, I earned little, which was not enough to see a doctor for my child. Second, I was often harassed in the service industry. Later, I simply bought a pickup truck to do transportation. Although it was hard, I earned a little more, and I didn't have to worry about being harassed." Qin Haodong still understood this point. A woman who was too beautiful was also troublesome. At the same time, he also had a little admiration for Lu Yage. It was really rare for a woman who could completely rely on her face to earn money by her own hands. "Why are you making money alone? Where's the child's father?" "Her father?" Lu Yage's face showed a trace of sadness and sarcasm. "He originally disliked me for having a girl. On the day he knew that Nyonyo had leukemia, he disappeared, and there is no news from him until now." After listening to her, Qin Haodong sighed secretly. It seemed that Lu Yage really had a taste of a beautiful woman's life. She was unlucky. Her daughter was ill, and she met such a scumbag. Feeling that this topic was a little heavy, Qin Haodong said again, "What's the matter with those gangsters just now? Why are they looking for trouble with you?" "They are from Wilson Company. The reason why they are looking for trouble with me is that I robbed their way of making money." Lu Yage began to tell. Wilson Company is a well-known large pharmaceutical company in the world. Their best medicine is called Biconstantine, which is currently an effective medicine against leukemia. But this kind of medicine is too expensive in Huaxia. A bottle costs more than 20,000 yuan, and it takes about a month to take it. If you take the generic medicine from Tianzhu, the price is 200 yuan a bottle, which is 100 times the price difference. Why is there such a big difference? As a doctor, Qin Haodong was also shocked by the more than 20,000 yuan a bottle of medicine. He asked, what about the effect? The generic medicine should not be as good as the original medicine, right? Lu Yage said, there is almost no difference in the effect. It can effectively inhibit the development of leukemia. Qin Haodong asked, in this case, why are they selling it so expensive? Lu Yage said, the reason why Constantine is sold so expensive, on the surface, on the one hand, is because of the patent fee, on the other hand, because there are too many middlemen, increasing the price layer by layer. From the root point of view, it is because these pharmaceutical companies do not aim at curing diseases and saving people at all. They have only one goal, which is to maximize profits. As long as they can make money, they don't care about the lives of ordinary people. The cost of a bottle of medicine is less than 200 yuan, and they sell it for more than 20,000 yuan. Leukemia patients need such a bottle of medicine every month. In 12 months a year, there are more than 4 million leukemia patients in Wuxia, which is an astronomical figure. Chapter 230. Speaking of this, her face showed strong hatred. This is a life-saving medicine, but those black-hearted businessmen sell it so expensive. In order to cure the disease, I don't know how many families have been ruined. Those who have property sell their houses and land, and those who have no property can only wait to die. As a doctor, Qin Haodong naturally felt bad when he heard Lu Yage's complaint. He asked again, since Wilson Company is so profitable, why do they keep these gangsters? Because Wilson Company's medicine is too expensive, leukemia patients often go to their company to demonstrate and complain. The police can't do anything about these patients. They even sympathize with these patients and can't bear to drive them away. Huang Weili, the general manager of Jiangnan district of Wilson Company, is a mercenary villain. He never pays attention to the life and death of patients. At this time, he uses these gangsters to drive away the patients who demonstrate. These people are his thugs. Oh. Qin Haodong understood why a multinational group company would keep so many gangsters. He said, you haven't said why those gangsters came to you. Could it be that you brought the patients to a demonstration? No, they came to me because of the goods in my car. Lu Yage said, I graduated from Jiangnan Institute of Foreign Languages. I worked in Tianzhu for a period of time before I got married. I not only speak English well, but I am also familiar with Tianzhu. Recently, the family's money has been completely spent, and even the house has been sold, but I can't watch Nyonyo die like this. Later, I heard from my friends that the generic medicine in Tianzhu was very effective and cheap, so I bought some from Tianzhu. After trying it, it was really good. This time I found a sum of money, and then bought a large number of imitation Baikong sting from Tianzhu. I want to take some back for my own use, and some for the sick patients. I will sell them at the original price for those who are in difficulty, and I will add a few hundred yuan for those who are in better condition. After all, Nyonyo and I also have to live. Qin Haodong asked, is this what you mean by robbing Wilson Company's source of money? Yes, if I sell a bottle of imitation medicine here, he will sell a bottle of genuine medicine less, and earn more than 20,000 yuan less. I don't know how, but Wilson Company got the news that I could buy generic drugs. First, they told me that as long as I didn't buy generic drugs from them, they could sell me genuine drugs at the price of 200 yuan. However, I couldn't just watch them die, so I refused. Later, they found a lot of hooligans to threaten me, but I didn't agree. Just now, these hooligans were able to find me. It seems that they wanted to kill me. If you hadn't arrived just in time, I might have been dead or crippled. At this point, Lu Yage couldn't help crying again. In fact, it doesn't matter if I die. It's a pity that Nyonyo is too young. How pitiful it would be to leave her alone in the world. Qin Haodong didn't feel good when he heard that. At the same time, he had a better impression of this woman. She could have gotten the genuine low-price medicine, but she was willing to risk her life to get the imitation medicine for other patients. Her kindness was really commendable. He patted Lu Yage on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, I will cure your daughter." "Really, Dr. Qin, can you really cure my daughter?" Lu Yage asked with tears in her eyes, full of maternal love and hope. "Of course it's true. I have cured a child with leukemia before. He is recovering well now, just like a healthy child." "Thank you, Dr. Qin. Nyonyo is finally saved." Lu Yage cried excitedly again, but this time she cried with joy. They had been suffering for so many years, and now they finally saw hope. After calming down, she wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, and then suddenly accelerated. She wanted to take Qin Haodong back to her home as soon as possible, so that her daughter could be relieved of her pain as soon as possible. Lu Yage's home was in a small courtyard on the outskirts of the city. Although it was a little far from the urban area, the rent was cheap. When the truck drove into the yard, there were already more than a dozen people waiting there, including young people, old people, and a lame man with crutches. Their faces were not good. Qin Haodong could see at a glance that these people were lack of blood and qi, and they were all leukemia patients. "Back, Yage is back." After seeing the pickup truck, these people, who had been lifeless, showed a look of excitement on their faces, and they all saw hope. When the truck was parked, Lu Yage got out, and these people immediately gathered around. A middle-aged man asked, "Yage, how is it? Did you get the goods?" "Yes, Yage, my medicine has been off for 3 days. I'm waiting for you to save my life," the lame man said eagerly. "Don't worry, the medicine is in the car, enough for you. Everyone unload the car first and help me send it to the warehouse. We'll distribute the medicine later." After Lu Yage finished speaking, she began to ask everyone to unload the car together. Many people made light work. Soon the whole car of medicine was sent to a small warehouse next to it. "Yage, when will the medicine be distributed? I must buy more this time," the middle-aged man said. His name was Ma Sanbao, and he had leukemia for 8 years. Before, because he couldn't buy generic medicine, he took medicine and lost all his money. His wife also divorced him. Lu Yage said, "Brother Ma, wait a minute. I invited Dr. Qin today. He will treat Nyonyo." "Dr. Qin?" Ma Sanbao looked at Qin Haodong and said, "Yage, what kind of disease can such a young doctor cure? Don't be deceived, right?" Lu Yage said, "Brother Ma, haven't you seen the video on the internet? This is Qin Haodong, the medical sage of Jiangnan City. He once cured old Maldini's head tumor without surgery. Dr. Qin just told me that he can cure Nyonyo's leukemia." "Really? Can Dr. Qin cure leukemia? I've seen the video of Dr. Qin's treatment. He is really a magic doctor. Now we are saved. I don't know how much Dr. Qin's treatment costs. Can we afford it?" After learning Qin Haodong's identity, some people were full of hope, some people worried that the fee was too expensive, and some people began to doubt whether Qin Haodong could cure leukemia. After all, there were too many fake news now. Lu Yage trusted Qin Haodong very much. She opened the door and said, "Dr. Qin, please." Qin Haodong entered the room and saw a little girl of 4 or 5 years old sitting on the bed. Compared with children of the same age, she was much thinner. Her face was pale and bloodless, and there was no hair on her head. If she hadn't been wearing a small skirt, she couldn't even be seen as a girl. "Nyonyo, Mom is back." Lu Yage went over and held the little girl in her arms. Although her daughter was seriously ill and thin, her daughter was her world. "Mom!" Nyonyo cried softly, and then buried her head in Lu Yage's arms. She was a little nervous when she saw Qin Haodong and others. Lu Yage comforted her, "Don't be afraid, Nyonyo. This is Uncle Chin. He is a very good doctor. He is here to treat Nyonyo." The little girl didn't seem to believe it and said, "Mom, is what you said true? I have seen many doctors before, but they can't cure Nyonyo's disease." Lu Yage said, "Of course it's true. Dr. Chin is different from other doctors. He is the medical sage. He will cure Nyonyo. Can Nyonyo grow long hair? Can she wear pigtails like other children?" The little girl asked expectantly. "Don't worry, it won't take long for Nyonyo to grow long hair. If she wants to wear pigtails, she can do it. If she wants to do a perm, she can do it." This time it was Chin Haodong who answered her. Nyonyo said, "Thank you, Uncle Chin. If I get better, I will dance for you." Chin Haodong said, "Nyonyo is a good girl. Lie down now, and Uncle will start to treat you." Lu Yage took off Nyonyo's coat and let her lie on the bed. Chin Haodong opened the needle bag and took out the silver needles to treat Nyonyo. Looking at the shining silver needles in Chin Haodong's hand, Nyonyo was still a little scared and asked timidly, "Uncle Chin, does it hurt?" Chin Haodong shook his wrist, and 2 silver needles were pierced into the kidney acupoints on both sides of Nyonyo. Then he asked with a smile, "Now you know, does it hurt?" After the silver needles entered her body, the green wood genuine qi began to nourish the dried-up kidneys on both sides of Nyonyo, and immediately made her feel very comfortable. "No, it doesn't hurt at all. It's very comfortable. Uncle, you are so powerful. It hurts when others give me acupuncture." Nyonyo said cheerfully, and the fear on her face had disappeared. "Don't be nervous if you know it doesn't hurt. Uncle will continue to treat you," Chin Haodong said as he pierced the silver needles into Nyonyo's back one by one. Each silver needle began to tremble slightly, and the green wood genuine qi was injected into Nyonyo's body along the silver needles. Ma Sanbao himself was not interested in traditional Chinese medicine. In addition, Chin Haodong was too young. In his opinion, he was a liar. However, Lu Yage believed in Chin Haodong. He just came to buy medicine. Naturally, it was not good for him to make decisions for Lu Yage. He could only watch, waiting for Chin Haodong's treatment to fail and stand up to expose the true face of the liar. But as time went by, Nyonyo's face was getting better and better, and her mental state was getting better and better. The paleness of leukemia on her face was getting lighter and lighter, and on the contrary, there was a touch of red. What the hell is going on? He couldn't believe that a few silver needles could cure diseases, but the fact was in front of him, and he couldn't find any reason to refute it. After Chin Haodong absorbed an upper-level spirit stone, he reached the 5th level of covert power. His cultivation was improved a lot than before. His genuine qi was sufficient, and the speed of treatment was also improved a lot. About 10 minutes later, he took back the silver needles and said, "Well, Nyonyo, get up and have a try." After he finished speaking, Nyonyo jumped up from the bed and shouted happily, "Mom, I feel so comfortable. My whole body is full of strength." In fact, others could see that Nyonyo, who had been ill for 3 years, had an unprecedented ruddy face, and her mental state was very good. Seeing her daughter's appearance, Lu Yage was so excited that she shed tears, but she still couldn't believe it and said to Chin Haodong, "Dr. Chin, is my daughter really cured?" Chin Haodong said, "Strictly speaking, she is half cured. I have relieved her physical symptoms through acupuncture. From now on, she doesn't need to take medicine. But she has to wait for a while to recover. I will find some medicine for her in a few days, and then she can be completely cured." After Ma Sanbao saw it with his own eyes, he now completely believed in Chin Haodong's medical skills. He said excitedly, "Dr. Chin, how much does it cost to treat leukemia? I still have 100,000 yuan. Is it enough? If you can take it, as long as it helps me to treat the disease." Hearing what he said, Lu Yage also reacted and said, "Yes, Dr. Qin, you cured my daughter. How much does it cost? Chapter 231. After Lu Yage asked, others looked at Qin Haodong nervously. At this time, these people had seen the hope of curing their leukemia, but if Qin Haodong asked too high a price, they could do nothing. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "It's not easy for you to take care of a child alone. I treat Nyonyo for free." "Thank you, Dr. Qin. Thank you so much." Lu Yage was extremely grateful. She had sold her house to treat her daughter's illness over the years. She was in debt and was really in a desperate situation. She was about to kneel down and kowtow, but was pulled up by Qin Haodong. Poor children matured early. Although Nyonyo was only 5 years old, she was very sensible. She said to Qin Haodong, "Uncle Qin, let me dance for you." After saying that, she tiptoed and jumped on the bed. Because of her family's financial difficulties, she did not learn dance professionally. She learned it completely from the TV. However, the little lass was indeed talented in this area. She danced methodically and looked very good. Lu Yage and Nyonyo were happy, but other people were still worried. Qin Haodong could give the poor mother and daughter free treatment, but could he give them free treatment? Normally, it was absolutely impossible. Ma Sanbao licked his dry lips and said, "Dr. Qin, we also have leukemia. We also want to ask you to save our lives. How much does it cost? If we can afford it, we will treat it. If we can't, we will think of other ways." When Qin Haodong was about to speak, his cell phone rang. It was Guo Feng, the director of the Cultural Relics Appraisal Association. He motioned Ma Sanbao and others to wait for a moment, and then picked up the phone. "Brother Qin, you finally got through. I've been worried about you these days." As soon as the phone was connected, Guo Feng's eager voice came from the other side. "Director Guo, what's the matter?" Qin Haodong had a good impression of Guo Feng, and he got along well with him several times. Guo Feng said, "Brother Qin, I need your help with something, but it's a bit complicated." "Where are you?" "I'll come to you." "Well, I'll send you the coordinates." Qin Haodong hung up and sent the coordinates of Lu Yage's home to Guo Feng. When he finished, Ma Sanbao was about to ask again. Then he heard a noise outside. With a crash, the dilapidated door of Lu Yage's house was directly smashed from the outside. A middle-aged man of about 40 rushed in with a dozen black security guards. Ma Sanbao and the others who came to ask for medicine did not all enter the house. The cripple and another man who did not believe in traditional Chinese medicine were smoking and chatting outside. When they saw the middle-aged man, they immediately shouted, "Huang Weili, what are you doing?" The middle-aged man had a thick cigar in his hand. And wore a famous brand suit. He looked a little oily. He was Huang Weili, the general manager of Huang Weili. Huang Weili blew a smoke ring and said with a proud face, "Where is Lu Yage, the bitch? Let her come out quickly, or I'll burn her chicken coop." When the people in the room saw Huang Weili coming, they all rushed out. "Huang Li is out. Ha. In, Nyo," he said. "Huang Hao, you are not welcome in my house. Get out of here. Look at this broken house of yours. Even my dog kennel is better than yours. If you didn't invite me, I wouldn't have come." Huang Weili said disdainfully, "I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Hand over the fake medicine you got, or don't blame me for being rude." Everyone understood that this guy came for the batch of medicine that Lu Yage had just brought back. Lu Yage said, "I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have medicine at home." Although Nyonyo's illness had been cured by Qin Haodong, she had spent 300,000 yuan to buy these Baikong's sting from Tianzhu, and Ma Sanbao and others were still waiting. She couldn't give them to Huang Weili and others for nothing. "Bitch, you dare to be stubborn when you're about to die." Huang Weili waved his hand and said to his men, break the truck and see if there's anything inside. The security guards behind him had been prepared. They were all carrying sledgehammers, pliers and other tools in their hands. They got the order and knocked open the truck's compartment. They found that it was empty and there was nothing inside. The head of security turned around and said, "Manager, there's nothing in the truck. It must have been unloaded." Huang Weili looked at Lu Yage and cried, "Bitch, tell me where you hid the medicine." "I said, there's no medicine at all," Lu Yage said firmly. But the people behind her were different. These medicines were their lives. For fear of being taken away by Huang Weili, some people involuntarily looked at the warehouse next to them. Even some people had slowly moved there and blocked the door of the warehouse with their bodies. Huang Weili was also an old fox. How could he not see that the medicine was in the warehouse? He pointed to the door of the warehouse and shouted to the head of security, "Break it for me and see what else they have to say." More than a dozen security guards immediately rushed to the warehouse like wolves and tigers. Although Ma Sanbao and others wanted to stop them, they were ill all year round. How could they be the opponents of these strong security guards? They were quickly scattered to one side. The head of security swung the sledgehammer in his hand and directly smashed a hole in the door of the warehouse. Just as he was about to hammer again and smash the door of the warehouse directly, he suddenly felt his neck tighten, and then the whole person flew out. Of course, it was Qin Haodong who did it. He couldn't stand the rogue behavior of Wilson Company. He put down all the security guards to the ground in a few seconds. Huang Weili was still arrogant and winning. In his opinion, these patients could not be opponents of his security guards at all. As long as he got this batch of medicine, a large sum of money would inevitably flow into his pocket. But he never dreamed that the more than a dozen security guards he had brought would be beaten by this young man in the blink of an eye and crawl all over the ground. Seeing Qin Haodong coming to him, he took 2 steps back in panic and cried, "Who are you? What are you doing? I told you that it's illegal to hit people." Qin Haodong said coldly, "Don't care who I am. Get out of here with your people." Since Qin Haodong didn't do anything to him, Huang Weili's heart finally calmed down. He shouted, "Boy, I'm telling you, I'll call the police. If you dare to touch me, the police will take you in." Qin Haodong frowned and was about to throw the guy out. At this time, a siren sounded and 2 police cars drove into the small yard. After the cars stopped, 6 or 7 policemen got out of the cars, led by Nailan Wuxia, the captain of the crime squad. Nailan Wuxia got out of the car and saw Qin Haodong at a glance. She was slightly stunned. This guy had disappeared quietly for more than 10 days and couldn't be contacted by phone. Now he finally came out. But now she was on official business, so she just glared at Qin Haodong and didn't rush to greet him. Seeing the police coming, Huang Weili immediately had a backbone. He ran to Nailan Wuxia with a charming smile and said, "Captain Nailan, you're here. These unruly people are unreasonable. We can't do without the help of the police." Lu Yage said angrily, "Who are you calling unruly people? You brought people to smash the door of my house. You brought people to smash the warehouse of my house. You are robbing. How can you say we are unruly people?" Huang Weili said arrogantly, "Lu Yage, you know what's going on. You brought back so many fake medicines and caused great losses to our company. 1 bottle is more than 20,000 yuan. You brought back so many fake medicines. How many years can you be sentenced to? I don't think you can get out of it in your life." Turning around, he said to Nailan Wuxia with a flattering face, "Captain Nailan, don't be fooled by this woman's appearance. She's actually a fake medicine dealer. Fake medicine is not a trivial matter. She may die if she takes it." Ma Sanbao cried, "Huang Weili, don't talk nonsense. The medicine brought back by Yage is no worse than your medicine. We rely on this medicine to save our lives. How can it be fake medicine?" Huang Weili cried, only the Baikong sting produced by our company is authentic medicine. Other channels are fake medicine. Liu Yage secretly got it from abroad. If it is not fake, what is it? You have the nerve to say that your company's medicine is authentic. The medicine of Yage costs 200 yuan a bottle. You all charge more than 20,000 yuan a bottle, and the effect is the same. You are a black-hearted enterprise. If your medicine is cheaper, who will go abroad to get medicine? If you don't let us take the medicine, do you want us to wait for death? That's right. The medicine produced by you can only take more than 20,000 yuan for a month. How can we poor people afford it? His words, like a bomb thrown into the toilet, immediately aroused public indignation. The patients in the hospital stood up to refute with righteous indignation. Huang Weili sneered and said, "Don't talk nonsense. If it is not our company's medicine, it is fake medicine. The patent of Baikong sting belongs to our company. We can sell it for as much as we want. If you can afford it, you can eat it. If you can't afford it, don't eat it. Now society is like this. If you have money, you can live comfortably. If you don't have money, you can die. Who asked you to be poor? Bastard, I will fight with you. Even if I die, I will take you to hell with me." Ma Sanbao was completely irritated by Huang Weili. He roared and rushed to him. Nalan Wuxia reached out and stopped Ma Sanbao. Although she also hated Huang Weili's profit-seeking face, it was her duty after all. Moreover, the Municipal Bureau had held a special meeting on the Wilson Company's drug case, asking her to cooperate with Huang Weili to deal with the counterfeit drug case related to Baikong sting. Huang Weili cried, "Captain Nalan, have you seen the faces of these unruly people? They don't have money to take medicine, but they are still so righteous. My men were injured by them just now, especially that little white face. We must catch him. And Liu Yage, who sold so many fake medicines, must bear legal responsibility." At this time, the faces of Liu Yage and others changed. Ma Sanbao and others were a little better. They were all leukemia patients. Generally speaking, they would not be arrested and sent to prison. But Liu Yage was different. She was a healthy person. If the fake medicine case was confirmed, the consequences would be unimaginable. It was likely that, as Huang Weili said, she would stay in prison for a lifetime. Qin Haodong glanced at him disdainfully, stepped forward and said, "Officer Nalan, these people broke into private houses. They not only smashed the door, but also smashed the door of a warehouse. I thought they were robbed, so I taught them a lesson. Should these people be arrested according to the law?" Huang Weili said, "Nonsense. We are official employees of Wilson Company. We are here to check fake medicine." Qin Haodong said, "Check fake medicine. We are in a private house. How can there be fake medicine? Do you want to deny it?" Huang Weili said arrogantly, "The fake medicine is in that warehouse. Our people can see it clearly. It's useless to deny it. Just wait to go to prison." He turned to Nalan Wuxia and said, "Captain Nalan, the fake medicine is in that warehouse. The evidence is conclusive. Hurry up and arrest them." Chapter 232. Nalan Wuxia was a little entangled. She had always been impartial when it came to illegal crimes, but now she had a feeling that she couldn't bear it. She had made a serious investigation into the counterfeit drug case of Wilson Company. From the legal point of view, these Baikong stings smuggled from Tianzhu were indeed counterfeit drugs. But from the perspective of efficacy, these generic drugs were no worse than genuine drugs. Each pill could prolong the life of leukemia patients for one day. In the final analysis, Wilson Company's drugs were too expensive. A bottle cost more than 20,000 yuan, which was simply sucking the blood of ordinary people. Leukemia patients really had no choice but to take risks. Otherwise, who would be willing to buy generic drugs when there was genuine drugs? From the perspective of survival, these leukemia patients just worked hard to survive. What was wrong with them? Because of this, she had turned a blind eye to the counterfeit drug case these days. She had not arranged the police to investigate the clues related to Baikong's sting at all. But now she couldn't. The staff of Wilson Company had found the counterfeit drugs and caught them in the act, forcing her to deal with it. After all, Wilson Company was a large multinational company. From the official point of view, the interests of others must be protected. This was also the task assigned by the meeting of the Municipal Bureau. She believed that what Huang Weili said was true. The generic drugs that Lu Yage brought back must be hidden in that warehouse. But if these drugs were really seized, then the eager leukemia patients in front of her might say goodbye to the world. From this point of view, she would become the murderer of these people. Nalan Wuxia had been a policeman for so many years, but she had never been so entangled as she was now. Huang Weili seemed to see her thoughts. He slowly stopped smiling and said in a cold voice, "Captain Nalan, you don't want to use your power for personal gain, do you? Now there are stolen goods. If you can't protect the legitimate interests of our Wilson Company, we will complain to the Municipal Public Security Bureau and even Jiangnan City about your police inaction." Qin Haodong also saw Nalan Wuxia's embarrassment. He stepped forward and said with a smile, "Officer Nalan, if you want to check, just check it. Isn't it just a warehouse? We are selfless and can check at will." Seeing Qin Haodong's confident eyes, Nalan Wuxia was no longer entangled. She said, "In this case, open the warehouse and let us have a look." "No problem. It's the duty of every Huaxia person to cooperate with the police." Qin Haodong turned to Lu Yage and said, "Give me the key to the warehouse, and I'll open the door." Ma Sanbao said nervously, "Dr. Qin, you can't open this door." The other leukemia patients also shouted, "Yes, Dr. Qin, we can't open this door." Qin Haodong smiled. "What's wrong with you?" "There's nothing in our storeroom, and there's no fake medicine either. Why should we be afraid of them looking?" Ma Sanbao and others were a little confused. Did Dr. Qin lose his memory? He had just sent the generic medicine into the storeroom with everyone else. Had he forgotten about it so quickly? Lu Yage also knew that it was impossible not to open the door today. She took a deep breath and whispered to Qin Haodong, "Dr. Qin, I beg you one last thing. If I am arrested and put in prison, please help me bring up Nyonyo. I will repay your kindness even if I have to do anything in my next life." "What are you talking about? Trust me, nothing happened between us." Then Qin Haodong took the key from Lu Yage's hand and stepped towards the storeroom. When the key was inserted into the keyhole, all the patients with diabetes were worried. Some people sighed because they could not eat meat, and some people were sad because Lu Yage was about to face prison. Qin Haodong didn't seem to notice this. He unlocked the door, then opened the door, turned to Nalan Wuxia and Huang Weili, and said, "Officer Nalan, have a look. Is there any fake medicine in this storeroom?" After saying that, he retreated to the side and let the door open. Seeing that Qin Haodong was so confident, Nalan Wuxia was also a little confused. Could it be that Huang Weili's people were wrong? Was there really nothing in the storeroom? She strode into the storeroom. Although the light inside was a little dim, she could still clearly see that the storeroom was empty. There were only a few flies flying around, but not even the shadow of a pill could be seen. Huang Weili followed Nalan Wuxia closely. When he saw the empty storeroom, he suddenly looked confused. Just now his men saw these people move the medicine into the storeroom with their own eyes. How could there be nothing? Lu Yage had been ready to be handcuffed, waiting for Huang Weili's people to move out the medicine one by one, and then convict her according to the price. But after waiting for a long time, there was no response at all. She couldn't help but come over with those patients with diabetes. When she saw the empty storeroom, she thought she was dreaming and couldn't close her mouth. She knew very well how many medicines there were. They were 300,000 yuan in total. A bottle cost 200 yuan, a box of 50 bottles, and there were 30 boxes in total. Obviously, these medicines had been moved into the storeroom, but now there was no trace of them. It was really strange. Qin Haodong came to Huang Weili with a sneer and said, "Manager Huang, do you want me to find you a shovel to dig the ground and have a look? Since it is not in the storeroom, it must be in the room." Huang Weili said to Nalan Wuxia, "Officer Nalan, these people are very cunning. They must have hidden the medicine in the room." The information he got was very accurate. Lu Yage did bring back a large number of imitation Baikong sting. Otherwise, he would not have sent gangsters to intercept it first, and then sent people to stare near Lu Yage's home. This time, Lu Yage had confidence. She knew very well that the medicine was not in the room. She said loudly, "Since you doubt it, go to the room and check wherever you want." Soon, Nalan Wuxia came out of the room with her people and stood in the yard again. The result was obvious. They saw nothing. Nalan Wuxia secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, she didn't have to worry about it anymore. She said to Huang Weili in a cold voice, "Manager Huang, is this what you mean? Why didn't I see the fake medicine?" Huang Weili was completely dumbfounded. He turned back and called a small security guard. He slapped him in the face and scolded, "Didn't you say you saw it with your own eyes? Where is the medicine? Where is the medicine?" The small security guard covered his face and said, "Manager, I did see it, but, he had been staying near Lu Yage's home and secretly watched with binoculars. He saw these people move the medicine into the warehouse. Who knew that the medicine would fly away, and there was nothing left? But your head. I'll skin you when I get back." Huang Weili slapped the small security guard again. He turned back and said to Nalan Wuxia with a flattering face, "I'm sorry, Officer Nalan. My people made a mistake. It's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. If there's nothing else, I'll go back first. Captain Nalan, don't worry. I'll deal with these guys when I go back." After that, he was about to leave with his people, but he was stopped by Qin Haodong. "Manager Huang, you come and go as you please. What do you think this is? A free market?" Huang Weili said, "I said it was a misunderstanding. What else do you want?" Qin Haodong said with a black face, "You broke into the house with your people. First, you smashed the door, and then you smashed the warehouse door. Do you think it's a misunderstanding? Today, you must apologize first and then compensate, or you can't go out of this door." Seeing the situation reversed, the leukemia patient standing behind Qin Haodong began to feel proud and shouted, "You must apologize and compensate for the loss." Thinking of Qin Haodong's terrible skills, Huang Weili took 2 steps back and said, "Boy, is Captain Nalan here? Don't tell me you want to hit me." "Of course not. Now it's a legal society. We do everything according to the law." Qin Haodong said to Nalan Wuxia, "Officer Nalan, it seems that Manager Huang is ignorant of the law. Please educate him. Is this behavior illegal? How should he be punished?" Seeing that Qin Haodong began to fight back, Nalan Wuxia felt happy. After all, she also hated Huang Weili's face. "You broke into other people's house without permission and caused property damage. If you reach an understanding, you can mediate. If you can't reach an understanding, you will be punished by administrative detention for 15 days. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "What do you think, manager? Do you want to go in for half a month?" The lame man, who had been following him, said with his mobile phone, "I have recorded everything Dr. Qin has done since they entered the door. When we upload it to the internet, I want to see where Wilson's company will put its face. How dare they call themselves a multinational company?" Huang Weili was a little dumbfounded. If he was really put in detention for half a month, and the reputation of Wilson's company was affected, then he would lose his hat as the person in charge of the Jiangnan area. One had to know that his current position had an annual salary of 1 million, and many people were eyeing him. If he could uncover the huge impact of the counterfeit medicine case, he would definitely be commended and rewarded handsomely by the higher-ups. The problem was that he had not found the counterfeit medicine yet, and if he tarnished the company's reputation, it would be troublesome. Thinking of this, he licked his dry lips and said to Nayland Wuxia, "Captain Nayland, our Wilson's company is a multinational company. Your police should give us protection and a good investment environment." Nayland Wuxia said with a cold face, "It's a great honor for me not to arrest you for making a false report out of nothing. And you have to know that Wilson's company is just an investor in Huaxia, not God or Emperor. It must strictly abide by the laws of Huaxia. If you can't reach a settlement with the victim, then I have no other way but to send you to detention according to the law. And I think this is your personal behavior, and it has nothing to do with Wilson's company." This, Huang Weili opened his mouth wide, but he couldn't say a word. He knew very well that if he was really detained, Wilson's company would not do anything for him. On the contrary, it would kick him out and change an agent to Jiangnan City. "Well, I accept the proposal. I apologize and compensate for the loss." Things had escalated to his golden rice bowl. Huang Weili could only put down his face and apologize to Qin Haodong, Lu Yage and others. As for the compensation, he didn't care about it. It was just 2 broken doors. How much money could it add up to? It was not as much as a meal for him. "I'm sorry, I was wrong this time." Huang Weili apologized to Qin Haodong and Lu Yage. Seeing that the black-hearted businessman finally bowed his head and admitted his mistake, there was a burst of applause in the yard. Everyone hated the mercenary Huang Weili. "How much are these 2 doors? Tell me, I'll pay for it." Huang Weili took his handbag and took out a stack of brand new Huaxia currency from it. Qin Haodong said to Lu Yage, "Tell me, how much do you want to lose? Manager Huang has plenty of money. Just tell me." Chapter 233. Lu Yage hesitated for a moment, stretched out 2 fingers and said, "This door costs 200 yuan. Qin Haodong was speechless. This woman was really kind. At this time, she only asked for 200 yuan. Although this broken door was not even worth 100 yuan, he had to make Huang Weili pay more. 200 yuan, right? Huang Weili looked disdainful. He directly pulled out 2 Huaxia currency and threw it on Lu Yage's face. Although Lu Yage was kind, it did not mean that she was weak. Otherwise, she would not be a woman to support a family. Huang Weili's disrespectful action immediately annoyed her. She said angrily, "Huang Weili, what are you doing?" Huang Weili smiled and said, "What am I doing? You said 200 yuan, and I gave you 200 yuan. Isn't this real Huaxia currency?" In his opinion, as long as money could solve the problem, it was not a problem. Lu Yage was about to say something, but she was stopped by Qin Haodong. "Elder sister, Manager Huang is right. Since they lost money, we should accept it happily." Huang Weili said proudly, "That's right. You've been struggling for so long. Isn't it just for a few money?" Qin Haodong said to Lu Yage, "Elder sister, leave the remaining door to me. I'll give you a reasonable price." "Oh. All right." Lu Yage nodded. She now had absolute trust in Qin Haodong. Huang Weili said disdainfully, "It's just a broken wooden door. It's as grand as it is. It's the same for all of you. Tell me, how much do you want?" Qin Haodong smiled and then stretched out 2 fingers. 200 yuan, right? You should have said it earlier. You've wasted so much of my time. Huang Weili said and drew out 2 more Huaxia currency. But he heard Qin Haodong say lightly, 200 yuan is right, but it's 2 million, not 200 yuan. What? 2 million. Are you right? Huang Weili was so excited that he almost bit his tongue. He turned to Nalan Wuxia and said, Captain Nalan, you see, it's not that I don't want to compensate, but these people are obviously extorting. Even a golden door is not worth 2 million. Nalan Wuxia was amused, but she also felt that Qin Haodong had gone too far. It was already a sky-high price of 1 or 2,000 yuan for such a wooden door. It was unreasonable for him to ask for 2 million yuan. At this time, Qin Haodong said, I have my reasons for asking for 2 million yuan. This is not blackmail. Our door is a pure antique. It is said that it is the toilet door of Emperor Kangxi of the Qin dynasty. It is Sister Lu's heirloom. Now it has been smashed by you. 2 million yuan is not much at all. Huang Weili shouted excitedly, nonsense. Can you be more funny? How can you say that such a broken door is an antique? You even said that it was the toilet door of Emperor Kangxi. You have to have evidence to back up your words. You are obviously blackmailing us. Who can prove that this is an antique? I can prove it. As he spoke, a middle-aged man walked in from outside the crowd. Who are you? What proof do you have? Although Huang Weili felt that the middle-aged man looked familiar, he couldn't remember where he had seen him for a moment. The middle-aged man took out a certificate from his pocket and said, I am Guofeng, the director of the Jiangnan Antique Appraisal Center. Now I officially give you the appraisal result. This door is from the Qin dynasty, and it is indeed the toilet door of Emperor Kangxi. If it is valued, it is at least 3 million yuan. 2 million yuan is already very cheap for you. Guofeng had been here for a while, but he saw that Qin Haodong had been busy, so he didn't come forward to talk. Everyone's attention was on Qin Haodong and Huang Weili, so no one noticed his arrival. Generally speaking, as an antique appraisal expert, every appraisal would be carefully considered. Otherwise, if the appraisal was wrong, it would greatly affect his reputation and he might lose his qualification as an expert. At this moment, if Guofeng resolutely stood on Qin Haodong's side, a villain like Huang Weili must pay the price. Huang Weili almost choked to death. He just said that the other party was blackmailing, but he didn't expect that an expert would jump out to prove it, and he was the real director of the Antique Appraisal Center. Qin Haodong said, Did you hear that? Director Guo just said that 2 million yuan is already a discount for me. Pay up quickly. Seeing Huang Weili being fooled by Qin Haodong, the leukemia patients around were excited as if they were celebrating the new year. They shouted together, Pay up. Pay up quickly. I really don't have so much money. Huang Weili put away his wallet and said with a red face. No money, right? You don't have money, right? Then let's do business. Qin Haodong turned to Nalan Wuxia and said, Officer Nalan, the other party refuses to pay. It seems that we can't mediate. You'd better send him to the detention center. Nalan Wuxia understood and waved to the little policeman behind her, Wang, arrest him. The little policeman answered and took out the handcuffs to handcuff Huang Weili. Huang Weili hurriedly cried, Wait. Wait. I'll pay. I'm willing to pay. Although 2 million yuan was a little more, a golden job with an annual salary of 1 million yuan was more important. After all, he could earn money if he lost it, but he would be completely dumbfounded if he lost his job. Although he was helpless, he still chose to pay. Qin Haodong smiled slightly, took a bank card from Lu Yage, who looked dull, and asked Huang Weili to transfer the money in. Seeing that 2 million yuan was gone, Huang Weili was very distressed. He glared at Qin Haodong and said, Can I go now? Yes. Of course. Customers were God. After taking 2 million yuan, Qin Haodong smiled and said, Manager Huang, we will decorate here in a few days. You can come again, but you should prepare the money first. Huang Weili snorted and ran out with his men. Behind him came the cheers of many leukemia patients. For many years, these leukemia patients had gone to Wilson Company to protest the price of medicine many times, but every time they did not have any good results. Several people were even injured by gangsters several times. Now they finally saw Huang Weili being defeated. Everyone was very happy. After the matter was settled, Nayland Wuxia let the other policemen get in the car first, then took Qin Haodong to the side and said, "Why is there a beautiful woman next to you every time it's about you? This time it's a beautiful young woman with a child. Do you have any special hobbies?" Qin Haodong said with embarrassment, "Sister Lu is my patient. I have nothing to do with her. Don't talk nonsense. Let's be serious. Where have you been these past few days? Why can't I get through to you?" Qin Haodong said, "I went to Shenangjia for a trip. I just got off the plane. The signal there is not good, so I can't get through to you." Nayland Wuxia nodded and said, "You just blackmailed so much money. When will you treat me to dinner?" "I can treat you to dinner, but the 2 million yuan is for Sister Lu. I won't take a penny. Otherwise, how can they live like orphans and widows?" "Well, I'll go first. Remember to treat me to dinner." Then Nayland Wuxia got in the police car and went back with her men. Qin Haodong came to Guofeng and said, "Director Guo, thank you for your help just now." Guofeng said, "It's just a piece of cake for me. I'm far behind Dr. Qin. A black-hearted businessman like him should pay the price." Although they are also pharmaceutical companies, they only care about maximizing profits and don't care about the lives of patients at all. In contrast, Dr. Qin's benevolence is admirable. Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, "Let's not talk about this. What can I do for you, Director Guo?" Guofeng said, "You haven't been at home these days, so you don't know. Something big happened in Jiangnan." "Something big happened? What about it?" Qin Haodong had just gotten off the plane, so he hadn't heard any news. Guofeng said, "The Yagyu Corporation of Neon challenged Huaxia and said that they want to challenge our Huaxia civilization. They're overestimating themselves. If it weren't for our ancestors, these Neon people would have already jumped into the sea to feed the fish. How could they say such shameless words?" Qin Haodong said, "What do they want to challenge us for?" Although this challenge is a folk activity, the influence created by the Yagyu Corporation is so great that the whole world knows about it. If we really lose, Huaxia will be disgraced. This time, the Neon People's challenge is very wide, including music, painting, antique appraisal, and medical skills. I'm the appraisal director of the Antique Center, so I naturally have to defend the dignity of Huaxia in antique appraisal. But to be honest, the Neon people are fierce this time. They must have something to rely on. I'm a little uncertain, so I want to ask you to help me." Qin Haodong said, "Director Guo, you are an expert in antique appraisal. I'm just a doctor. How can I compare with you? You're being modest. Whether it's the appraisal of the Xuanda censer or the ancient painting of Wu Daozi on Lin Xiaotian's birthday, your attainments are above mine." Guofeng took Qin Haodong's hand and said earnestly, "This time, we have a great responsibility to face the challenge from Neon. We can only win. You must help me this time." Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, "Well, since Director Guo doesn't mind, then I'll go and cheer for you." Guofeng said excitedly, "That's great. With you by my side, I'm sure the Neon people won't be able to make any big waves." Qin Haodong asked, "When will the challenge begin?" "The date is tentatively set in 4 days. I'll inform you about the specific arrangements at that time." Guofeng didn't stay any longer and left Lu Yage's house excitedly. Seeing that everyone had left, Lu Yage came over and said, "Dr. Qin, thank you so much. If it weren't for you, I would have been finished today and would have spent the rest of my life in prison. It's small for me to go in, but poor Nyonyo." Speaking of this, she burst into tears again. She was really scared just now. "Sister, it's all over. Why are you still crying? Lu Yage wiped her tears, took out the bank card and said, Dr. Qin, this 2 million yuan is yours. Take it. Qin Haodong said with a smile, this is the money Huan Weili compensated you for the antique door. What do I want it for? You pay off the debt and buy a house in the city with the rest. Nyonyo should go to school. Then you can live a good life. Lu Yage said gratefully, Dr. Qin, you've helped me enough. I really can't take this money. Why not? To tell you the truth, I don't lack the 2 million yuan at all. You have to think about Nyonyo. You and your daughter are short of money now. Dr. Qin, thank you so much. Lu Yage took Nyonyo's hand and was about to kneel down and thank Qin Haodong, but he pulled her up. At this time, Ma Sanbao said, Dr. Qin, there's one thing I don't understand. Those medicines were obviously in the warehouse. Why did they suddenly disappear? Chapter 234. After Ma Sanbao finished speaking, everyone's eyes were focused on Qin Haodong. This was also their question. They didn't know how Qin Haodong did it. A warehouse full of medicine was gone just like that. Qin Haodong said, I don't know if you have heard of David Copperfield, the famous magician of M country. Some of the people present knew and some didn't. A young patient said, I know. David Copperfield is known as the greatest magician in the world. He once made a 7-ton plane, a 70-ton train, and the Statue of Liberty disappear in public. Qin Haodong said, everyone knows the principle of magic. It's a kind of camouflage. The things are still there, but people can't see them. I just used the same method as him. I just used a magic camouflage. The medicine is actually still piled up there, but they can't see it. Really? Let's go and see. Ma Sanbao and the others returned to the warehouse and saw 30 boxes of medicine in good condition. He turned back and said with admiration, Dr. Qin, you are so amazing. Not only are you skilled in medicine, but you are also a master of magic. Qin Haodong smiled and said nothing. Of course, he didn't know any magic. He just put the medicine into the storage ring and then sent it back. He said to Lu Yage, you can give these medicines to everyone for free, and don't smuggle these things from Tianzhu in the future. It's illegal. I see. Dr. Qin, I'll listen to you. Lu Yage had just got 2 million yuan, so she didn't care about the cost of these medicines. After listening to the conversation between the two people, Ma Sanbao's heart sank. Although he could get the medicine for free this time, what about the future? These medicines had a shelf life. It was useless to take too much. When the medicine was finished, would they go to Wilson Company to buy a bottle of medicine that cost more than 20,000 yuan? They didn't have this kind of spending power at all. He thought of the question just now and asked again, Dr. Qin, can you cure our disease? Qin Haodong said, leukemia can be cured with acupuncture, but only I can use this acupuncture method. But there are too many of you. There are more than 4 million leukemia patients in Wuxia. I can't cure them even if I have 1,000 hands. When he said this, the leukemia patients in the hospital all looked disappointed. Seeing everyone's mood, Qin Haodong smiled and said, don't be disappointed. Give me 2 days. I'll go back and make the medicine that can cure leukemia. By then, not only will everyone be cured, but all leukemia patients in Wuxia will also have hope. Ma Sanbao was delighted at first, and then he asked, Dr. Qin, will this work? Can you really develop a cure for leukemia? Of course it's true. There's no need for me to lie to you. Moreover, I promise you that if I can't develop this medicine, I'll treat your illness with acupuncture. Long live. Long live Dr. Qin. Long live the medical sage. The patients in the small courtyard immediately cheered. Well, let's hurry up and leave with the medicine. These things are illegal. Go back and leave what you eat, and then share it with others. Don't let those people from Wilson Company find out. After Qin Haodong finished speaking, he and Lu Yage distributed the medicine in the warehouse to everyone. After everyone left, Lu Yage looked at the young man who had created a miracle in front of her and asked, "Dr. Qin, can you really develop a cure for leukemia completely?" "Why, you don't believe me?" Qin Haodong asked. "Yes, I certainly believe Dr. Qin." Lu Yage said excitedly, "There are more than 4 million leukemia patients in Huaxia. If you can really develop a cure for leukemia completely, it will absolutely be a great contribution." Qin Haodong said, "In fact, I can make a cure for leukemia now, but the materials needed are too precious and the cost is too high, so I have to study and find some cheap medicinal materials to make substitutes, so that it can be completely popularized in Huaxia." The medicine he mentioned that could cure leukemia was called the blood revival elixir, which had a miraculous effect on treating blood diseases. It was also a rare top-grade medicine in the cultivation world. With his current cultivation and the little fellow's eyes of phoenix, he was fully capable of refining the blood revival elixir. Unfortunately, the medicinal materials needed for the blood revival elixir were too precious. Moreover, it was overkill to treat leukemia with the efficacy of the blood revival elixir, so he had to improve the prescription and find substitutes. It was already evening when he returned to Lin's villa after saying goodbye to Lu Yage. As soon as he entered the door, 2 huge white shadows suddenly rushed over. Qin Haodong stretched out his hands and held them in his arms. They were Dumao and Ermao. Soon after these 2 snow mastiffs were born, Qin Haodong used the marrow cleansing elixir to clean their hair and marrow, so they grew much faster than other dogs. Before going out this time, he gave the 2 snow mastiffs a newly refined spirit culturing elixir. Now it seemed that the effect was surprisingly good. Although they had just been a month old, Dumao and Ermao were no smaller than their parents. They looked like 2 mighty and majestic cubs. After playing with Dumao and Ermao for a while, Qin Haodong walked into the living room, where his family was waiting for him to eat. At this time, Lin Ziyuan had completely regarded Qin Haodong as his son-in-law. After chatting with him for a while, he said, "Haodong, I don't think you need to go to school anymore. It's better to come directly to the group to help Momo, so that she won't be too busy." Qin Haodong said, "Uncle Lin, I'm just a doctor. I'm not interested in other things. Momo can find a few more assistants. There's no need to go to school to be a doctor. With your medical skills, I don't think the teachers in the college are as good as you. Why don't you come back directly and I'll open a clinic for you?" Lin Ziyuan seemed to be anxious to bring Qin Haodong into the Lin family so that he and Lin Momo could settle their affairs. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "I'll think about it." He had his own ideas in his heart. He wanted to open a clinic by himself. Although he had the potential to be a gigolo, he still had to earn his own living. After dinner, he and Lin Momo played with the little fellow for a while, and then returned to his room early. The little fellow played wildly all day and fell asleep soon after lying on the bed. Seeing his daughter asleep, Qin Haodong hugged Lin Momo and kissed her fiercely. After a while, Lin Momo leaned into Qin Haodong's arms and said, "How was your trip to Shenangjia this time? What did you get? Tell me about it. It's a big harvest. My cultivation finally broke through the bottleneck of the qi refining stage and reached the foundation establishment stage. Tang Tang also got the eyes of Phoenix of a Yuan sect, and she is more proficient in controlling fire." Qin Haodong said and told Lin Momo everything they had experienced in Shenangjia, bit by bit. After all, Lin Momo was an ordinary person. When she heard that they first encountered the devilish 5 and then encountered the fierce hell soul-devouring ants, although she knew that they were safe and sound, she still screamed again and again. After all, she patted her bulging chest and said, "I didn't expect you to experience so many dangers in just a few days. It's really scary." Qin Haodong grabbed her hand and comforted her, "It's okay. It's more scary than dangerous. After experiencing these things, our daughter has grown up a lot. But I'm still a little worried. Tang Tang is still so young. I'm afraid that something might happen to her. From a maternal point of view, Lin Momo was still very worried about the safety of the little fellow. Qin Haodong said, "Our daughter has the Suzaku sacred body. She is destined to be extraordinary in this life. Now give her proper training, and she will have better development in the future." Lin Momo nodded and knew that it was not the time to spoil her daughter. After a pause, she asked again, "Is the story about Senior Sikong Jiaxing you told me true? Is the rise and fall of the Qing dynasty related to the Holy Dragon formation? I guess it should be true. Did Senior Sikong Jiaxing really live for more than 100 years? How can people have such a long life?" Qin Haodong said, "Cultivation is to break through the limits of the human body and break the shackles of heaven and earth. 100 years is just the beginning. The more profound the cultivation, the longer the life. For example, I am now at the foundation establishment stage, and my lifespan is bound to exceed 100 years. If I reach the tribulation stage, it is not a problem to live more than 1,000 years. What about Tang Tang? What will happen to her in the future? With Tang Tang's Suzaku sacred body, it is only a matter of time before she reaches the tribulation stage. Her lifespan is bound to exceed 1,000 years." After hearing Qin Haodong's words, Lin Momo felt sad. Qin Haodong noticed that something was wrong with her and asked, "What's wrong with you?" Lin Momo said in a low voice, "You and Tang Tang can live for so long, but I can only live for 70 or 80 years. At that time, we can't be together. And women are always getting older. In another 20 or 30 years, I will be an old lady, and you will still be so young. At that time, I will not be worthy of you at all." Qin Haodong kissed her gently on the cheek and said, "You don't have to worry about this. I have already arranged it for you. After a while, as long as I form the gold core, I will take you with me to cultivate. Our family of 3 will be together forever." Qin Haodong had indeed prepared for this. Lin Momo was just an ordinary person, and she did not have the special constitution of Qi Wan, and Ma Wenjue. It was a little too late for her to cultivate at this age. If she forced herself to cultivate, even if she could enter the threshold of cultivation, she would not go too far in the future. In this case, the best way was enlightenment. As long as he could restore his cultivation to the gold core realm, he could use his unique secret method to enlighten Lin Momo. At that time, not only could she set foot on the road of cultivation, but she could also suddenly have the cultivation that others could not have in their lifetime. "Really? You are not lying to me, are you?" Lin Momo said excitedly. "Of course not, and I will tell you a secret then." Qin Haodong had already thought about it. As long as he succeeded in enlightening Lin Momo, he would tell her the secret of his reincarnation. "What secret? Can't you tell me now?" "Not now." Qin Haodong kissed Lin Momo's cheek again and said, "That's all in the future. Now, I have something to discuss with you." "What is it?" "Tell me." Qin Haodong said, "I want to set up a pharmaceutical company. I want you to help me find a suitable land and calculate how much startup capital I need." Lin Momo asked in surprise, "Set up a pharmaceutical company? It's not a trivial matter. Why do you suddenly have such an idea?" Qin Haodong told her what happened to Lu Yage and her daughter and said, "In order to make money, those black-hearted pharmaceutical companies sell life-saving drugs at sky-high prices. As a doctor, I can't sit back and do nothing. I'm going to develop a new drug that can treat leukemia. After mass production, it will be pushed to the whole Chinese market. I can't do it alone. I need a company to support me. When I cure all leukemia in the whole Chinese market, I want to see how they can make black-hearted money." "What? You can develop a drug to cure leukemia?" Lin Momo suddenly sat up. As the head of Lin's group, she immediately realized the huge business opportunities in this matter. Chapter 235. Qin Haodong said, I have an elixir formula that can cure leukemia. As long as I adjust the herbs needed for the elixir formula, we can enter the quantitative production. Lin Momo's eyes lit up and she said, how about we cooperate together? You buy shares with your technology, and our Lin's group invests. We can set up a large pharmaceutical company together. As the head of Lin's group, she had long realized that the business model based on the jade industry was too simple. She wanted to expand the field of investment. If she could really develop a drug that could cure leukemia completely, it would definitely be a good deal with low capital and great profits. That was why she was so tempted. Cooperation? Never thought about it. I just want to set up a pharmaceutical company. It's not easy to set up a large pharmaceutical company. First of all, the investment will be as high as billions, plus the factory, production line, management personnel, sales channels and so on. Are you ready for all these? Well. Not yet. Qin Haodong was not particularly good at business management. All he had now was a prototype of an idea and an elixir formula. Lin Momo said excitedly, so, a joint venture is the best channel. You take out the elixir formula and leave the rest to our Lin's group. This is absolutely a win-win situation for both of us. Qin Haodong looked at her and said, are you my woman or the president of Lin's group? Lin Momo hugged his neck and said coquettishly, there's no contradiction. The money earned by Lin's group is all ours. Qin Haodong thought about it. Now that Lin Momo was the only heir of Lin's group, he was not too resistant to a joint venture. He said, well, a joint venture is okay, but I have to get 51% of the shares to ensure absolute control of the company. In addition, the purpose of setting up a pharmaceutical company is not to make profits, so after the drug goes on the market, it will be sold at a low price in Wuxia. It can't be too profitable. Lin Momo said, the pricing is simple. The cost of traditional Chinese medicine is low. We can guarantee profits by setting a proper price. We will never be a black-hearted businessman. Moreover, we can sell it through different channels. We can sell it to the people of Wuxia at a low price, and then sell it abroad at a high price. After all, leukemia patients are not limited to Wuxia. Is that appropriate? Qin Haodong said hesitantly. From a doctor's point of view, he did not want to treat patients differently. What's inappropriate about it? Foreign pharmaceutical companies all do this. Otherwise, why is our Baikong Sting so expensive here? And it's not only Wilson's company. Other pharmaceutical companies sell their products at 100 or even 1,000 times higher price to China. Why can't we do the same? Oh. You're right, then let's do as you say. Qin Haodong was not a stubborn man. He could not turn around and send a big cake to the other party when they were trying to trick him. Lin Momo continued, but the shares are a bit troublesome. According to the market practice, if you only invest in technology, the shares you control should be between 30% and 40%. It will be difficult to have absolute control, and the board of directors will certainly find it difficult to agree. Qin Haodong said, absolute control is my bottom line. You can find someone to calculate the amount of investment first. In addition to technology, I can also invest a sum of money. He was very clear about the value of the medicine that could cure leukemia. This medicine had to be developed in his own hands. Otherwise, if the shares were controlled by the black-hearted businessmen, it would become a way for them to make money from the people of China in the blink of an eye. Therefore, he had to have absolute control. Lin Momo said, that's good. Today, I'll ask my team to make an investment plan. Then we'll discuss the shares. The most important thing is for you to develop the prescription. After the discussion, they hugged each other and fell asleep. The next day, Qin Haodong did not let the little fellow go to kindergarten. Instead, he took her to his villa and began to develop the prescription to cure leukemia. As Emperor Green would, he had an extreme understanding of the medicinal properties of Chinese herbs. After several experiments, he replaced the expensive medicinal materials in the blood revival pill with several very common Chinese herbs. Although the effect of the refined elixir could not be compared with that of the blood revival pill, it was enough to cure leukemia. In order to facilitate quantitative production, Qin Haodong changed the form of the medicine into a medicinal liquid. As long as the original liquid was refined by him, it could be sold on the market after rough processing. Since both the medicinal properties and the form had changed, it could no longer be called the blood revival pill. Qin Haodong thought about it and named it the blood revival oral liquid. After everything was done, he took out the 9-dragon furnace and began to refine the medicine with the little fellow. Half an hour later, a pot of emerald green blood revival oral liquid was fresh out of the furnace. Qin Haodong tried the medicinal properties and nodded with satisfaction. He took out the prepared glassware and put it in. After putting away the blood revival oral liquid, Qin Haodong and the little fellow did not stop. They began to refine today's highlights, the foundation building pill and the energy enhancing pill. With the foundation building pill, it would not be difficult to go from the obvious strength to the inward strength. His subordinates, the divine mercenaries and the daddy security company, could easily break through the bottleneck of the obvious strength and become masters of the inward strength. The energy-enhancing pill and the big energy-enhancing pill had the same effect. Both could help warriors improve their cultivation quickly, but the effect was much worse. At the level of the inward strength, the effect of the big energy-enhancing pill was a little worse. The energy-enhancing pill was suitable for masters of the inward strength. However, Qin Haodong could not refine the energy-enhancing pill before his cultivation was improved. Now he could. After a busy day, the father and daughter walked out of the house together in the evening. At this time, in addition to the blood revival oral liquid, there were also a large number of foundation-building pills and energy-enhancing pills in the storage ring. Qin Haodong drove to Lu Yage's house with the little fellow. He wanted to cure Nyonyo completely first, and then send the blood revival oral liquid to the leukemia patients yesterday through Lu Yage. When he arrived at the small courtyard, he heard a child crying in the distance. It was Nyonyo's voice, but he did not know why the child was crying so sadly. He parked the car and took the little fellow into the yard. He saw Nyonyo wearing a new pink skirt, sitting on the ground and crying. Lu Yage was not around. The cripple from yesterday was guarding Nyonyo, looking sad and indignant. Qin Haodong was a little surprised and asked, "Nyonyo, what's wrong with you? Why are you crying?" Seeing that it was Qin Haodong who came, Nyonyo immediately rushed over and hugged his thigh as if she had seen a relative. She cried and said, "Uncle Qin, my mother was taken away by bad people. You must save her. You must save her." Qin Haodong's face darkened and he asked, "Don't worry. Tell me slowly. What's going on?" "Bad people, bad people. They came to take my mother away." After all, Nyonyo was only 5 years old, so she could only say so much. The cripple said, "Dr. Qin, Yage was taken away by usurers. You must find a way to help her." Qin Haodong asked, "Why did the usurers take her?" The cripple said, "Dr. Qin, you don't know yet. Yage went to Tianzhu to buy Baikong's sting with usurers' money. She even sold her house to treat Nyonyo in recent years. There was no money at home. This time, in order to buy medicine for everyone, she took the risk of borrowing 300,000 yuan from the usurers." Qin Haodong said, 300,000 is not a big number. Didn't you get 2 million from Huang Weili yesterday? You can just pay it back. It's not that simple. Those usurers are vampires. The cripple said angrily, Yage thought so too. In the morning, she took 1.5 million out of the 2 million to buy a school district house for Nyonyo, and bought some new clothes for Nyonyo. She left more than 400,000 to pay off the usurers and live in the future. Who knew that when those usurers came, they didn't follow the agreement at all? When Yage borrowed money, it was agreed that she would lend 300,000 yuan and pay 100,000 yuan in interest every month, and 2 million yuan a year. Now she just borrowed it for less than a week, and paying them back 400,000 yuan was already a very high interest. Who knew that these people were not satisfied and insisted that Yage pay a year's interest in a lump sum? Yage didn't have so much money, so she was taken away by them. Qin Haodong's face became more and more gloomy. These people were not usurers. It was obvious that they were robbing money. He asked, "Do you know where Sister Lu was taken?" The cripple shook his head and said, "I don't know. Yage was taken away by them in a car." "Who is the usurers? What's their name?" The cripple said, "I don't know his name. Everyone calls him the Crown Prince. He is a famous hooligan leader. No one dares to provoke him. I heard that the Crown Prince had long taken a fancy to Yage's beauty and proposed to keep Yage as his mistress, but Yage didn't agree. I think he took the opportunity to rob her deliberately this time." "I see. You take care of Nyonyo here. I'll bring Sister Lu back later." Qin Haodong was furious at this time. Lu Yage was a beautiful and kind woman, but God treated her unfairly. First, she was given a scumbag, and then her daughter suffered from leukemia. After so many years of hard work, she finally met Qin Haodong, who helped her cure Nyonyo. She thought she could live a good life, but in the twinkling of an eye, she was targeted by a hooligan. It was said that beauty had a short life, but God treated her so unfairly. As a cultivator, he had to fight against God. Qin Haodong said in his heart, "Sister Lu, don't be afraid. Since God is unfair, I will give you a fair one." He took the little fellow back to the car, took out his mobile phone and dialed Chi Weiner's phone number. "It's urgent. Help me locate a phone number." After that, he reported Lu Yage's phone number. "Wait for me for 2 minutes." Although Chi Weiner hadn't seen Qin Haodong for more than 10 days, she knew that he was in a hurry. She called back 2 minutes later. "This phone number is now in the night eye bar." Qin Haodong drove straight to the night eye bar and secretly thought, "No matter you are a real crown prince or a fake crown prince, I will let you pay for bullying such a kind woman today." In a luxury private room of the night eye bar, a wretched young man was sipping red wine in a glass and looking obscene. He stared at Lu Yage's sexy figure. He was the owner of the bar, Long Xiang, known as the crown prince of the underground world. "Beauty, this is a good red wine. Would you like to have a drink with me?" Long Xiang said as he reached out to touch Lu Yage's face. "Rogue, what are you doing?" Lu Yage slapped away Long Xiang's obscene hand and said angrily, "I borrowed 300,000 yuan from you. I just gave you 100,000 yuan of interest in 7 days. What else do you want? Why did you let your people catch me here? Bitch, don't be so shameless. Do you really think that I lack that little bit of money? I want you as a person. I have been watching you for so long. Today I must have sex with you." Long Xiang said as he smashed the wine glass in his hand to the ground, and then rushed to Lu Yage. "You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.